Greetings, fellow nerds and geeks. Why don't you pull yourself up a chair, grab yourself a beverage, and prepare to enjoy a geek-tastic conversation. Welcome to the Geek Easy.
Welcome back to the Geek Easy podcast. I am Pixel Dan, and I am once again joined by Jonathan Leonard.
Hey!
And Jaron McCaffrey.
What's up, what's up?
What's going on, guys?
I'm happy and energetic and glad to be here.
That's good. That's good. We've got a pretty full show today. It's only a few topics, but they're big topics, I feel like, because just...
It's a big cup of coffee.
It's a big cup of coffee. We just got through Wrestle Mania weekend, so, of course, all of us got together. We watched some Wrestle Mania. We watched a lot of wrestling. So we're going to talk about a lot of wrestling. But also this past weekend was opening weekend for DC's newest film, Shazam. So... we got WrestleMania, we got Shazam, and we got a lot of things to say about both of them.
Like Gomer Pyle.
Shazam!
That's better.
I didn't know that's how you were supposed to pronounce the name of the movie. I apologize. So since we have so much to talk about with just these few things, why don't we jump right into it? And we want to start by talking about TakeOver a little bit, right?
Takeover New York.
Let's
NXT Takeover.
NXT Takeover.
Happened Friday night.
Was it Friday night?
It happened Friday night this
Or
year.
Saturdays.
No,
So
well, normally it's Saturdays, but
They switched it around, I think, this year. So, like, Ring of Honor ran on Saturday night out of MSG, out of Madison Square Garden.
Yeah.
And I remember that being... I remember reading reports about when that show got booked.
Vince was scared of Ring of Honor.
Well, he was upset that they were booked in the Garden.
Yeah.
I remember that being news at the time. But also, you know, there's tons of wrestling going on WrestleMania weekend, like all the way around. But I think that's one of the reasons why it was on Friday. I don't know for sure if it was like they didn't want it to go head to head kind of a thing, but I saw a lot of reports saying that it was like.
Hey, let's all right, all the Geek Easy listeners, let's just start tweeting and Instagramming and Facebooking hashtag Vince Fears ROH, and let's see if we can just get ROH bought. So
just get them to buy ROH.
I'll show you who fears ROH.
Yeah. I was not in until you got to your point. And now I have to download the Twitter app.
Amazing.
I don't think that. I think they just wanted to. I think he likes the whoever the WWE likes the prestige of having like the Hall of Fame the night before Mania, and you know, kind of having that as like, you know, because they do everybody gets dressed up and they do the.
I feel like that works better too, right? Like the order there seems to work better for the overall weekend, especially for the people that have to be at both shows.
Probably,
yeah. I'd rather have the.
What are they going to do when
the middle.
SmackDown's on Fridays?
Well, that'll probably change things up for Mania weekend, I guess. I didn't even think about the fact that the SmackDown was moving to Fridays.
Hope the takeovers get bumped to
Saturday morning,
night,
Thursday night, Saturday AM,
Thursday night takeover,
Wednesday midday takeover,
TNT.
Whoa, check it out.
All right, so takeover New York. So I got to start by saying and admitting that I have not been following NXT at all.
Where were they for the Royal Rumble?
Oh man!
Oh boy, I don't even know.
Well, Takeover
Phoenix,
New York,
Phoenix, right?
Takeover New York was
Phoenix.
way better than Takeover Phoenix.
You're right. No, I agree. This takeover was much better than the
Yes.
last takeover. Absolutely.
Yes, for sure.
This takeover was very good, very enjoyable. I liked it all the way through, I think.
Yeah. Definitely the takeover at Rumble. I'm pretty sure it was Takeover Phoenix. I'm not saying 100%. I just, you know, I didn't stop watching NXT because I disliked that takeover, but it had a big impact that I did not feel the need to like rush. You know what I mean? It did not make
really bad.
NXT destination programming for me. So I have not really been watching or following NXT at all. But I was excited for Takeover. Traditionally, the last 4 years that it's been happening, NXT
That's enough. That's
NXT Takeover has been my favorite part of the weekend.
It's been fun. I like too. Like the last couple years, we've been watching it. We've been saving it for the morning of WrestleMania and watching it together. So we did that again this year, which is crazy because our tradition used to be spend the entire day watching old WrestleMania matches until the show started. But now there is so much new wrestling that we don't really get a chance to do that anymore because we can start Takeover in the morning
at 11.
And by the time it's over, the darn kickoff has already begun for WrestleMania. So we're already watching new stuff,
which is exactly what happened this year.
Like WrestleMania is turning into like Christmas, like just earlier and earlier every year. Pretty soon WrestleMania is going to start on like Saturday afternoon.
Yeah. Okay, so we open the show. There's some matches beforehand that I'm not going to cover. There's some dark matches and stuff. We're just going to start where Takeover started. And Takeover started with the Tag Team Championship match.
Oh, man.
The War Raiders, Hanson and Rowe, versus Aleister Black and Ricochet. This was a really good match. I really liked this match. I'm not a fan of anybody in this match except for Aleister Black.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
I loved this match. I just thought, like, it was such a great opener, but also, like, even after watching the entire show, like, I feel like this is the match I can point at as saying this was my match of the night.
Yeah.
Like, I just thought these guys killed it with this match.
I really enjoyed it. My main exposure to Ricochet has been that last Takeover and this Takeover. I've seen him on a couple of, like, Raws or whatever along the way, but I mean those are so short segment, whatever. These are actual exposés with somebody,
Right?
And I remember watching that last Takeover, and it was him and Gargano, and I remember thinking, like, man, both of these guys, their work looks really crisp, and I hate everything they're doing. And this was a much. This will make me want to give Ricochet another chance, at least, because this was all the crispness and none of the dumb stuff, or at least way, way less of the dumb stuff, I would say.
Yeah.
My biggest complaint with this match, and I think I brought this up at the last Takeover also, is the big guy on the War Raiders.
Hanson.
I don't like, I know big guys can be that acrobatic. I've known a bunch of big guys who can be that acrobatic. It doesn't impress me that they're that acrobatic. It just kills everyone around that. Like, there's no reason for small guys to exist if big guys are going to do that kind of thing. I don't like watching it. Now, having said that, if he's going to be doing it, he's doing it well at least.
Yes.
But I don't, and it's it's not like once a match. It's like every segment is him cartwheeling and flipping and whatever. I'm like, that's not.
He did a lot of it in this,
I don't like it. But everything else in the match I really enjoyed.
Yeah, totally.
I would agree. Next, we had the Velveteen Dream taking on Matt Riddle, defending the North American Championship against Matt Riddle. Man, I just can't tell you guys and can't say enough how much I hate Matt Riddle.
You do, man.
I don't like anything.
That's fairly well deserved.
I don't like anything about him. I don't like his stupid hair. I don't like his stupid bro gimmick. I don't like the fact that he goes out there in just his trunks, so it looks legitimately like he just ran out there in his underwear.
Barefoot, no boots, nothing.
I don't like that he is not good in the ring, and everybody right now who's going, "What? He's great." No, he's not. Fight me. He is the one begrudgment that I will give him is that he is, well, I'll give him two half begrudgments. Okay, half a begrudgment, he does have some charisma. I don't think he knows how to use it. I don't think I think it's just him, and there's something to that.
Yeah.
But I can't stand it. Not my charisma.
I got very much the face vibe from him and the heel vibe from Velveteen Dream going into that match.
Yeah.
And that match started, and I got the opposite through most
Yeah,
of
right?
it.
Yep.
It felt,
And Matt Riddle putting the heat on Velveteen through the first half of that match, he looked lost the entire time.
Yeah.
Now, the second half, I think it came together, and it was a pretty decent second half of a match. But the first half, it just didn't know what was going on.
Yeah. Well, the second half of the begrudgment that I'll give him is for traditionally MMA guys don't necessarily adapt well. So he's starting to adapt well for an MMA guy. And yeah, I would agree. Watching that match, when he was in control of it, it seemed like he didn't know what to do, and it just got kind of repetitive, and he just looked like he was kind of doing stuff. And that's speaking from a wrestler standpoint. There's a lot of times where we just go, just call your stuff. and then we'll do these spots at the end, and then just call your stuff.
Yeah.
So I think he was probably just calling his stuff, and they should not let him call his stuff. He is not good at that. But yes, then at the end, that match kind of came together, and I'm a huge fan of Velveteen.
Me
Dream.
too, man.
So like when
awesome.
he kind of got rolling, and you got to see a little bit of his
seems like
his
a total
stamp.
package.
Yeah. Oh yeah. By far. He's still he's gonna need to develop some ring generalness. Because to properly convey his character, he's going to have to lead his matches and do his thing. He's not going to be able to go out there and be like, all right, Seth, you go ahead and call it tonight.
Yeah.
Like, he's just not. So Velveteen wins. Meh.
Just got a meh.
Meh. I enjoyed Velveteen. I did not. I could take or left that match.
I've never questioned. Like, I've seen some people wrestle barefoot, like Islander gimmicks and stuff like that,
Right.
and I've never really questioned it when it fits into that gimmick. Watching Matt Riddle run around that ring with no shoes on just looks so dumb.
Yeah.
And I just get the immediate feeling like anybody who wrestles him that doesn't just go straight after his feet.
Yeah.
It looks dumb too.
Yeah.
And which thus far, every time I've seen him wrestle, somebody's gone after.
I was going to say they did that
Yeah.
spot in this match, right?
but-
Yeah.
I love that Velveteen just stomped on his foot at one point,
Yeah.
and I marked out for it hard.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next match was for the United Kingdom Championship. It was Pete Dunne defending against Walter. I'm a big fan of Pete Dunne.
Yeah.
Bruiserweight.
Yeah.
I dig everything about the Bruiserweight.
Yeah, me too. He's super fun to watch, and he does that crazy stuff every time. Like the hands.
Yeah.
The hands are always like his thing. Where
Yep.
like he does all the crazy finger holds and the contorting of the fingers and the hands and everything, and it just always gets me too because it just looks gross,
Yeah.
right? It's just one of those things that always looks sick every time.
Yeah.
And I like it. I think it's cool.
I love that there's somebody out there whose gimmick is Walter.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so Walter. So one of the things I really liked about this match is this was a very European style match, and that is not something we get.
Yeah.
Even the guys that get called up, come to NXT that are European wrestlers, they don't bring that style with them as much. Very little. Unless they're wrestling another European guy.
Yeah.
You see it then, but it's almost like it's such a unique style. Unless you've studied it, you know what I mean? Like unless you've tried to work that, like they're not just gonna come and walk in and be like, okay, Velveteen Dream, here's how we're gonna work this match European style.
Right.
So it was fun to see those guys go out there and kind of do that and to present that on WrestleMania weekend on this big card, and they were given plenty of time to do it. It's not like it was, oh yeah, here's this sideshow. Here's the European guys, aren't they weird?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah, it was like go out there and do it. So I enjoyed that. Having said that, man, I was super unimpressed with Walter.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I've been hearing about Walter. He was kind of starting to make a splash over in the European indie scene. So when he showed up on NXT UK, I was like, oh, Walter, cool, I get to see him. And then they just, all I ever saw, they had him squash several dudes, and you can't get a good read off of squashing somebody. So to see him in this match, I was kind of like, oh, that's it.
Underwhelmed.
Yep. And I'm sure.
I thought he fit into that match fine. I can't judge him beyond that.
Yeah.
But I wasn't put off by anything I saw.
We're not talking Matt Riddle underwhelmed here. We're just talking
not anti-whelmed.
Yeah. No, just I expect a little more given everything that I've heard. And he won the match, so he's the United Kingdom champion now. I'm sure I'll get to see some, and he's young. He's young too. He's not a crusty old veteran who's winding down.
Right.
He's a new guy who's up and coming, so he's just going to keep getting better.
Yeah.
So I'll be watching to let you know when he gets better, or let you know if he's all hype. Always been all hype. Okay, so then we have the Fatal 4-Way for the NXT Women's Championship. Shayna Baszler versus Io Shirai, Bianca Belair, and Kairi Sane. and I was fine with this match.
It was all right. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I liked it fine, too. I don't know, like, I don't know. I'm having a hard time even thinking about standout moments in this match.
Yeah.
Like, I always like watching Kairi Sane. I love that elbow so much.
Yes.
So she's always fun to watch.
I liked the play, the story they were telling about that tag team being involved with it.
Yeah.
And when they had their moments and stuff, there was some good, solid storytelling there, I thought.
Yeah. So I really like Io Shirai. I like Kairi Sane. I hate Bianca Belair.
Yeah,
she
you don't
can
like her.
she can slide right over there. We'll just put her and Matt Riddle over there in the same.
Wow.
Yeah, in the same case as far as I'm concerned. Shayna Baszler. I really like Shayna Baszler. I think she carries herself, and we've talked about it on the podcast before, so I won't go too far into it. But I think the way they have presented her character is a step above. I think she carries herself. I think her character, her type of charisma is a step above. I think she does the Ronda Rousey gimmick better than Ronda Rousey did the Ronda Rousey gimmick, right? But I think she is still struggling to find her place in the ring. She has really good matches when she's in there with somebody who knows how to work with her. And sometimes you start to see cracks when she's in positions she's uncomfortable with, and positions she's maybe not too I don't want to say protected, but just where she's a little bit out of her element. I felt like I saw some cracks in this. It's a fatal, it's a four-way.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of people out there. They're trying to run all these spots, so it's not a super conducive spot for her.
Right.
That being said, I enjoyed the match. She retained. Shayna Baszler retained. And I am a Shayna Baszler fan, so I dug the match well enough. Kairi Sane and Io Shirai they showed up. You know what I mean? They kept that match alive. I felt
right.
like.
Totally.
They really kept that match alive.
I agree with that.
Yep.
I agree with that. Yep.
They were totally in their element. And that'll bring us to the main event, which was Johnny Gargano and Adam Cole. 2 out of 3 falls for the NXT Championship. Oh, my bad.
Adam Cole, baby.
2 out of 3 falls match for the NXT Championship match. Yeah. I don't like Johnny Gargano at all.
Not at all?
Gargano's one of those guys that falls into a area where, like, I respect him.
Yeah.
Like, because I'm a wrestler, I can see what he's doing. I can see that he knows what he's doing and how hard he works. He does not do my thing.
Gotcha.
Gotcha. He does not. The things I like to see in wrestling, he is not that. In fact, he's the opposite of that.
Something about his face. I don't like
something about his face. It goes back to what we were talking about, like with the Ricochet match, right? Like just a very, very spotty wrestler.
Yeah.
Very spotty wrestler. Gargano is for sure.
Yep.
And
I don't always understand the story he's trying to tell, and I can't tell if that's because he's bad at it or because he's not even trying to.
Well, the psychology sometimes is just, it's hard for me to accept, but it's that whole thing where I keep trying to tell myself, like, this is just like a certain style of wrestling, and like you almost have to like forgive it because it has become its own style at this point.
They call it super indie.
Super indie,
You don't have to forgive it just because it exists.
Well, I know that it's got its fan base, and that's cool, but I agree with you that it's just not really my kind of wrestling.
Yep.
And I do enjoy watching him, and I think a lot of the stuff he does is very impressive, but I find myself questioning the psychology far too often in these matches.
Well, like I said, I don't think there is. I mean, I don't know that there is any. It's
sound like an old
series of things.
Do we sound like old men complaining
I
about
feel like
newfangled wrestling?
I feel like we sound like wrestling fans, but I don't know.
Okay.
Well, no, we sound like grizzled vets.
Yeah.
These kids today.
These kids in there.
They got no psychology. And that's the thing I think me and Danny are kind of talking about, not necessarily forgiving it. It's a different kind of psychology, so if you want to analyze it, you have to be able to see what he's doing, whether you agree with it or not. Mm-hmm. And that's where I say, like I see what he's trying to do, the way he builds his stuff and the way he puts it all together. And I know that he is putting a lot of thought and a lot of effort into it. It's just not for me. Adam Cole, I am super lukewarm on. Man, I hate the Undisputed Era. I feel like they are, man. I don't know. I feel like their gimmick is that they're the super indie wrestlers. You know, they don't really cut. They don't really cut promos. They just kind of sit around backstage and talk trash. And you know, their promos are talking trash to each other. And again, I appreciate that. It's different, and a lot of people like it. So I appreciate that. You know, I can respect that. Adam Cole in the ring, I tend to like. I think he puts his matches together. He's still very indie, but he's very super indie. But I do feel like he is just this side of indie enough that I really get into him. All this being said, the second two falls of this match, I loved them, man.
Yeah.
I was in the whole way. I don't know what they did. I think they kind of blew themselves up. They tired themselves out.
So the first part of the match felt very much like that.
Yeah.
Like, they seemed like they were tired so fast. And, like, the first fall happened, and it's just like, how are they going to pull two more out? Because they look dead right now. They look like they have no energy to keep going.
Yep. And I think they... And not in that way of, like, oh, man, they're selling, you know, they're so wore out. Like, they look tired.
You know?
And I think they thought, you know, because they're both little guys, they're both in good shape.
It's almost like that style doesn't work.
I think they wanted that first fall to be nonstop,
right?
And they were pretty nonstop that first fall,
absolutely.
But by the end, they were starting to get sloppy. You could start to see some holes, and then that finish happened, and it was kind of like that. Oh, that's what we got, guys.
That's what we're doing for our first fall. Yeah.
Okay, guys, cool. And then they brought it back, and they started selling a little more, and they put the spots together a little better. They got their second wind, I really felt like. I really liked the second fall of this match. And, man, by the time they got to the go home in the third fall and the Undisputed Era was out there.
They were all out there at ringside,
Yeah, that was...
Trying to change the direction of the match.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you know what? I kind of realized that I get into that kind of thing. It reminds me, and I am sure it reminds me of Attitude Era stuff, because Attitude Era stuff, the finish was always like, you know, here comes the nation, here comes three other guys to try and fight the nation,
right.
You know, here comes the NWO, and you know they're gonna jump this guy, but he's gonna fight him back, and then Sting's gonna drop down.
Crash
you know
TV.
So it just takes me back a little bit. And nowadays, instead of it just running in and being kind of a big smudge, they actually do put some thought into what's going to run down. Like, you know, like you're going to run down here and do this, and then I'll counter it this way. You know, I mean, it's spot stuff that normally I complain about, but this is how it should be. So it looks cool when everybody's running in and they have stuff to do. And yeah, even though Gargano wins, and even though I do not like Gargano, and I'm lukewarm on Adam Cole, this was my... I think I enjoyed this match the most of the night.
Did you?
The second two falls.
Yeah.
I would need to go back and watch the War Raiders and Ricochet and Aleister Black. Like, I need to watch that match back to back with this one to really be able to say.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed it.
Yeah. I enjoyed it too, very much. And honestly, the whole show was still a great experience overall. Like, I had a lot of fun watching it. I definitely feel like it ranks better than the last Takeover we watched.
Oh, by far.
I feel like we had so many complaints about that last Takeover. We sat here and complained a lot.
Yeah,
I can't even fathom anyone arguing that point.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure it'll happen, but
yeah. Yeah. I enjoyed it.
Yep.
Cool.
All right, so that'll bring us
to WrestleMania 35.
WrestleMania.
So do we want to talk about all the kickoff stuff, or we can just kind of breeze through it real quick? I guess. Let's just skip to the actual
some
shit.
things happened on kickoff.
Like, I mean, all those
some real weak battle royals.
Two battle royals happened. Yeah, Carmella won the girls. Braun Strowman won the guys. So the actual show opens up with Alexa Bliss she's the host of the show, and she does that thing at the beginning where she's like, I've got so much power, I can make a WrestleMania moment just by snapping my fingers. And she snaps her fingers, and Hogan's music hits, and Hogan comes out. And so, like, I love this, and I don't know if you guys caught it, but I went back. It made headlines, so it's pretty funny to watch.
Yeah.
He makes the joke where he comes out and he welcomes everybody to the Silver Dome, which is funny because that's the name he said wrong 5 years ago at WrestleMania, which was the last time he was on WrestleMania. And then he immediately laughs it off and welcomes everybody to the real show at the MetLife Center, which is the wrong name of the arena. They're in the MetLife Stadium.
Yeah.
So he makes the joke and then actually botches the name of the arena again. So good job, Hogan. Good stuff.
I mean,
and I just love the headlines. The headlines for it were like, Hogan jokes about botching stadium name 5 years ago, then botches stadium name. It's good stuff, man.
Is there a MetLife Center or?
I have no idea. He just said center instead of stadium, and so said the name wrong again.
Naming a different place.
Maybe
using the wrong
it might
word,
be.
yeah.
You never know. There might be a MetLife Center, but
well, I gotta say, like, I caught it when he said that. Like,
Yeah.
when we watched it live, I caught it, but I was like, did he? No, like, and then, so I didn't. Like, I was just like, nah, it's not. And then, like, the next day, everybody was like, oh my gosh. I was like,
so this
Yep.
is great because they do. So he does the Hogan pose off, and Alexa does it with him, and we all joked because we're like, I feel like Alexa doesn't actually know how the
Yeah,
Hogan poses
like-
go because she had to like kind of stop and watch him every time and like, oh yeah, this pose now.
right.
Well, I think
Oh,
she-
okay,
I think
now
she-
that pose
He was
now.
also standing behind her.
Yeah,
I don't know if
yeah.
she knew what poses he was
Right.
doing at any given point.
Yeah.
Listen, man, I could be blindfolded with hot pokers in my eyes, and I promise you, I would match Hogan move for move. He is not that innovative. It's not like he.
Okay, not if you don't know what order they're coming in.
They always come in the same order. They come in the same order for the same time every time he has ever appeared, ever.
Man, she's like 15.
Yeah.
Bruh.
Well,
I'm
okay.
saying.
So this is the next best part, right? Because he's out there and he's doing his pose down and everything, and all of a sudden Paul Heyman comes storming out and storms straight past Hogan.
Yes.
And there's this moment where Hogan looks legitimately angry and confused and
Yes.
has no idea what's going on. And
The crowd starts to boo.
the crowd starts to boo, and Hogan has no idea why he's getting booed, and it's
Yeah.
because Heyman's storm into the ring. So the best thing about this, and I don't know if you saw this news, but apparently they legit changed their mind about the placement of this match while Hogan and Alexa were on the stage.
Oh yeah.
So Hogan had no idea that Heyman was going to come marching out there, which makes total sense when you see his reaction. to
Yes.
this. Yeah, which it's crazy, and that just shows how sometimes they do that last minute. And I know firsthand that that's a thing.
That's
I
awesome.
saw it happen once.
Yeah.
So they made the decision.
Where?
They said, "Oh, this one time I was on Raw and SmackDown."
So they made the decision. Paul Heyman's marching to the
You
ring.
can hear about the whole story in the archive.
Yeah, that's right. So Heyman's marching to the ring now, and he introduces Brock Lesnar, and I love this promo because he's like, look, if Lesnar's not going to go on last, he sure as heck isn't going to sit around all night long, so we're going to do this match right now. And he brings Brock Lesnar to the ring, and it's awesome. I love that. I just think that is so fantastic.
Yeah, man. I loved it.
It's
Going
so in
first.
character, and man, was this just the right way to open the show.
Man.
Just the right way to do it. Because Seth comes marching down to the ring, and before he even gets there, Lesnar hits him with an F5 on the outside and proceeds to give him a huge beat down, like welts his back all up real bad. And this starts to look like it's going to be a typical Brock Lesnar beat down.
Yep.
And then he tosses Seth in the ring, and the bell rings. And as he's getting ready to go for another F5, Seth wiggles out of it, shoves him into the ref, hits him with a low blow, then hits him with 3 curb stomps, and then wins the
Yeah,
championship.
it was hot,
Pretty
man.
much the perfect Brock Lesnar.
The match was like, I think right around the 2-minute mark.
Yeah.
And it was so hot.
Short and Lesnar lost.
It was short, sweet. It was to the point. It gave the crowd exactly what they wanted. It was a hot, fast open. There was no better way to open WrestleMania.
For
it
sure.
was amazing. It was
Plus
absolutely
you
amazing.
got Heyman out there right away.
Yeah, man. I mean, just
Yeah.
awesome Heyman stuff. I mean, Lesnar sold like a champ for the curb stomps. I mean, it was great, man. This whole segment was it was perfect. They couldn't have been
awesome.
any better. I loved it. So that brings us into match number 2, which is AJ Styles facing off against Randy Orton.
Second?
Is that second?
That was second. They were match number 2.
I feel like they came much later.
Yeah, so this was match number 2 of the night. This was the whole storyline they kind of built up here was like WWE veteran versus indie darling, right? Like that's totally the story they were telling with this. Yep. It was honestly a pretty good build, and these two guys are both, I mean, they're both good workers. They're both crisp and solid. The match felt a little slow. Yeah. But it was good.
Right.
Like the wrestling was all good, right?
Yes.
Like through the whole match.
Might have just felt slow because it was shortly after NXT when we watched it.
Yeah.
And I'm not like that's not even like a joke. Like we watched 3 hours of very, very fast paced. And then we went and watched
Randy's slow though.
Randy's like he's kind of that slower, methodical kind of heel worker, and so that's what you get out of him. The crowd didn't seem like they were with it very much, but this is another one where after the fact, I guess there was some sort of weirdness going on with like the lighting in the arena, and a lot of the fans had a hard time seeing the ring. So there's a lot of weird chants and stuff that we were noticing while this match were happening. We're like, man, they've already lost the crowd. They're doing a lot of their own things, but it turns out apparently they were all reacting to this light scenario that was happening in the arena. So that's a bit of a shame that they didn't really get good focus on this match, because I feel like the work was good.
The work was solid. I would maybe criticize a little bit. I felt like these guys could have done more.
Yeah.
You know? Now there is that thing where it's like, okay, we're like the 5th most important match on Mania.
Right.
You know, we're not going to go out there necessarily and, you know, we're not in the main event of Mania.
But when it's Mania, you always kind of expect it to like flip into this extra gear, right? Like that you don't usually see. And this match never really did that.
Yeah. So my other thought on that is like, this is Randy Orton and AJ Styles. If I'm Randy Orton or AJ Styles and I'm wrestling Randy Orton or AJ Styles, I'm just going to be like, well, we're just going to go out there and kill it. We don't need it. You know what I mean? Like, like this is just magic. You know, we don't have to try to be magic. This just is going to be magic. And sometimes when you think that's when you need to go, oh, hold on. We need to try to make this magic. Been there. Speak from experience.
There were some good storytelling elements, specifically with like the RKO, because he's been putting AJ out with the RKO a lot leading up to this. And so there were some neat things where like AJ learned from that. Like there was the part where he would like bait Randy into hitting the RKO by like he would go for the springboard forearm and then hop down. And Randy would RKO nothing and like take the bump. Like that happened once, and even the go home revolved around the same kind of thing. Like he hopped up for the springboard and Orton grabbed him for it and he popped down and was able to shoot him off and then actually hit the phenomenal forearm. So like the storytelling was great, I thought. So it never really kicked into that extra gear, but it's still solid.
It was a good match. It was a real good match. I really enjoyed it. But yeah, it was not like one where I was like, oh my gosh, that was a classic. I got to watch it.
Exactly. Good wrestling, not necessarily a WrestleMania classic.
Yep.
So that brings us into the Fatal 4-Way for the SmackDown Tag Team Championships. It's the Usos versus Aleister Black and Ricochet, doing double duty since they were just on NXT, versus Rusev and Shinsuke versus Dabar. Solid tag match, man. And this is, when you've got this many guys out there for a big match, there's always such potential for just mayhem, a cluster, a mess, you know.
Fatal 4-Ways are tough to arrange in singles.
Yes.
Fatal 4-Ways with tag teams are rugged.
Right. And I felt like all of these guys did a great job in this match.
I would say this match was as good as a Fatal 4-Way, a tag team Fatal 4-Way can be.
Yeah, I'd say that too.
All the spots were crisp and clean, and everything was fun and creative. It was good.
And the Usos retained, which is awesome.
I'm loving the Usos, and I'm loving that
they've gone into the last 3 Manias as tag champions.
That's what
they said.
Yeah, so it's not like they've been undefeated for 3 years, but they have walked into WrestleMania the last 3 years as tag champs, which is a neat little.
And I think this is the first time they've been on the actual show.
Yeah, I was gonna say they actually made the main main card. But that's great, man. It was a super solid match, and I love the Usos.
Yeah, man.
They work hard, and it was real cool. I'm glad they retained. That brings us to Shane McMahon versus The Miz. Falls Count Anywhere. This was a stunt fest, right? I mean,
I
it's
enjoyed it,
a
though.
Shane McMahon match. It's been an interesting experiment.
Shane gonna Shane.
Shane's gonna Shane.
Shane gonna Shane.
But it's also been an interesting experiment because I feel like this is the first time, as we've discussed, this is the first time they've truly been able to turn Miz face.
Yep.
And so it was interesting to see him play this role
Yep.
that he's very still green in because we just don't really see a face Miz very much. But this match is not a match. It's a fight.
Yeah.
Because pretty early on, they do the thing where he starts messing with with the Miz's dad, and then he goes for the big elbow drop on the table. So Miz's dad like jumps over the barricade and stands in front of him, and then gets in the ring. And there's that hilarious moment where like Miz's dad like puts up his dukes.
Yep.
Like
They
he's
didn't
gonna
actually show Shane's dad coming over the barricade, but I tend to believe he didn't jump.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Miz's dad.
There's no way.
Miz's dad.
That too.
Yeah, so I love that though because he's like puts up his dukes like he's gonna fight Shane, and Shane's just like, I'm not gonna fight you, and then blindsides him and gives him the Shane punches, which are just terrible.
Man,
The Shane punches are
as
so
much
bad.
as Shane punches, you'd think.
Yeah, they're bad.
I feel like somebody must have never told him his punches suck.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
Like,
They're
somebody-
He's
He's
the
awful.
boss's son. Every time he throws it, everyone is like, "It's the greatest thing I've ever seen."
Good
Shane.
job, yeah, good
Great,
job, Shane,
Great.
good job.
Don't change a thing.
You think Vince is not watching that going? Hold on.
My son doesn't punch like that.
Right. Shane, what are you doing?
So Miz comes in to save his dad, and this is where the fight just goes all over the arena.
Yep.
And it's just punches and punches and punches all over, and they keep climbing things higher and higher until they're up on the top of the scaffold where the hard cam is at.
Right.
And we know that Shane's gonna fall off something because that's what Shane's gonna Shane.
Yep. Shane gonna Shane.
But this spot's kind of amazing though because
dug it.
Miz picks him up for a big old stalling suplex.
Yep.
And just suplexes him straight off of the hard cam tower. And it looks like they fell forever.
Yeah.
And I don't think it was probably more than like 10 feet up or so.
Yeah.
But like the way that they shot
Which
it.
doesn't sound like a lot
Okay.
when you say it.
I know.
But man,
But
when you're
that-
suplexing a
I was
guy
gonna
off
say
the thing.
a suplex
Yeah.
is pretty crazy, and they fell down on like this. It was obviously a crash pad, but it was under like wood,
platform.
like a platform. So like the platform
Yes.
broke. It looked better than the H Undertaker crash pad.
Way better.
Well,
you know what
that's
I
the
mean?
thing.
And it was shot better.
And we
Yeah.
talked about that. So when we talked about the Triple H Undertaker spot
On
the
our
Streak Easy?
on our Streak Easy mini podcast where we discussed the Undertaker's undefeated
Undefeated
streak at WrestleMania, which you can find on YouTube.
That's right.
We talked about this because they did a very similar stunt and they caught an angle where you just saw Triple H fall down onto like a spongy
crash pad.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah.
And we talked about, why wouldn't you just put tables there? It wasn't that far. You go through the tables. Tables do the exact same thing.
Right.
Or, we've seen plenty of times where they do the stuff where the ring breaks or, the scaffold matches at WCW, they would set up a segment of the stage that would collapse like that.
Right.
And that's what they did here. And I just,
It looked better.
It looks so much better.
Like-
and you can watch it and go, well, that was a safe landing for those guys, but you don't do that. You watch it and you go, holy, because something breaks and it doesn't fall, they don't bounce, it breaks, it takes the shock, and it doesn't take you out of the moment where you're going, oh, look at that mattress he landed on.
Yeah, exactly. And they shot it from a great angle too.
Yes.
And like when they showed the replays in slow motion, like you see how just totally vertical that suplex is, and then it legit just feels like they're falling forever when it's in slow motion.
was
It's amazing.
Super impressive to me about this bump in the first place was the fact that they chose to do a suplex off of that thing onto it.
Yeah.
Because with that, I mean, when you're used to doing suplex from ground to ground there, even superplexes, you have a tendency to have to make sure you don't over-rotate and come down funny. And you're doing one from, you said easily 10 feet up in the air where you just have to fall forever. And both of those guys had to stay straight.
Yeah.
So they didn't just land on each other's necks or anything
Yeah,
like that.
yeah.
And it just looked gorgeous all the way down, and then boom, crashed right through. So
Yeah.
I thought it was a very neat
It was a good
Shane
spot,
stunt.
and it knocked both of them out. And the way they landed, Shane's arm was draped over the top of Miz, so he got the 3 count win.
Yep.
So And that's totally fine because, you know, he's the heel and he got his butt kicked, but he pulled out a win by accident.
And Shane's the greatest in the world.
And he's the best in the world. Yep. So they can still run with that, you know. So that works out for me.
Those guys are SmackDown.
Yeah. So we haven't.
Guys, right?
Yeah,
so,
they're SmackDown.
Okay.
Yep. Next up is the Fatal 4-Way Tag Team match for the Women's Tag Team Championship. So another Fatal 4-Way Tag match with the Iconics facing off against champions Boss and Hug Connection, Bayley and Sasha Banks, Nia Jax and Tamina, and the returning Beth Phoenix with Natalya.
This match didn't suck.
No, it didn't suck. It was good.
Yeah.
It was not.
I couldn't read your tone.
Yeah. No, I thought it was good. It was not as crisp as the men's match, but I still thought they had some great spots here.
I would have remembered this match more fondly if I hadn't seen the men's match first.
Oh, okay.
I
sure.
get that.
Yeah.
Because it was. I mean, it was just such a good match.
Yeah.
And yeah.
There was some sloppiness. There were some spots that didn't quite land here. This was pretty par for the course, and when I say it's tough to put together and execute these fatal 4-way tag team matches, this match was pretty par for the course.
Kind of shows it a little bit. Yeah.
Could have been a lot worse. I wouldn't call any of these girls out and be like, "Yeah, you blew it."
Right.
You know, obviously, you know, they did what they did.
I enjoyed the finish quite a bit.
Yeah.
I thought it was very, very good. Because Beth Phoenix ended up hooking Bayley, I think it was, in the Glam Slam from the second rope. And as she's up there setting it up, I think it was it Billie Kay jumped up and tagged Beth, like on the back.
Yep.
So Beth jumped off and hit this big Glam Slam, and as soon as she hit it, Peyton Royce runs in, drags Beth out of the ring. Billie Kay jumps in and gets the 3 count, and the Iconics are the new tag champs, which I totally called.
Yeah.
And I was actually very excited about it.
Those
Those girls
the
are
Iconics
amazing.
run off of such a weird. Like, I have so much fun watching them, but not
Me
because
too.
of wrestling at all.
Right.
And that's not to say they're bad. It's just that like they're the characters they're portraying aren't built for good wrestling matches. But they are so much fun to watch when they get into their groove.
I love their characters.
Yeah.
And we've talked about this when we talked about Elimination Chamber too, but I just love, like you said, that they sound like they sound like a bunch of turkeys out there.
Yes.
The way they scream and holler at each other throughout the matches, nonstop, it
They
kills
just run
me,
around
man.
and gobble.
It cracks me up. It just cracks me up, man. I love it. And like they stole that win and then did the big emotional crying thing, and like it just works for their characters, and I love it. And you know, like, I'm kind of glad we got a shake up already with the women's tag titles. I am. Like, you know, like they could have left those belts on Bayley and Sasha for and given them a nice long run, but why not do a little bit of a mix up early on with them? You know, like,
Because I don't like title changes.
no.
I will be interested to see how these girls play as champions.
Well, I'll be interested to see how they play as champions. If we get a good run, I'm fine with it. If they have a good storyline with Bayley and Sasha, I'll be fine with it. What I don't like is where the women's / Divas Championship had been. Like, really, honestly, like up until, you know, this year, where it's just like completely random. Okay, you get a championship for 6 months, and you get a championship for 3 months, you get a championship for 4 months.
Our joke was always the diva wheel, that they had a wheel backstage, that they would spin the wheel, and it would tell them which diva's going to be the champion now.
Yes.
Because that's totally the way they treated that belt. It was, it's your turn now, it's your turn now, it's your turn now. And it's not like that anymore. But I see what you're saying with this. Like, so you worry about it falling into that kind of thing.
Because Vince doesn't care about tag teams.
You're right about that. You're right about that. Now, on the flip side of that, we also know that a lot of the time, when a championship is concerned, the face is better when they're in a chasing position.
Right.
So maybe putting these belts on heels pretty early on is a good move to give us somebody to cheer for.
Right.
For these belts.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
we'll see.
Again, I'm fine with the chase. It just worries me because they have a tendency to do that. You know, the It's your turn now. It's your turn now. It's your turn now.
Yeah.
With the men's tag titles.
Yeah, you're right.
You know, and
Yeah.
so it worries me, you know, and having seen it happen with the Divas and the women's titles for so long, you know, it just worries me that it's like, oh, already somebody else's turn on these tag belts? Okay, guys.
I could see that.
I'll let you know how I feel in 6 months.
All right, well, that brings us to, if we're counting the kickoff stuff, this is already the 10th match of the night that I'm about to tell you. That's ridiculous. Kofi Kingston facing off against Daniel Bryan for the WWE Championship.
I remember getting really excited when this match started because it was still, like, I looked at the clock, and I'm like, oh, it's early enough, and we got to be almost out of matches now.
Yeah.
You know, because they're doing this.
Well, we had that conversation.
There's like 9 matches.
There's 6
after
more
this.
after this. Isn't that crazy? There are still
yeah.
6 matches after this one. Oh, my goodness. All right, so Kofi...
Enough is enough.
Kofi Mania.
Too much is so much.
So this match, let me jump in here and then you guys can take the end.
Go for it.
So this match was that match, like we talked about with the AJ Orton match.
Yeah.
Where it felt, you know, these guys probably could have phoned it in and it still would have been better than your average match, right? But these guys went out there and they delivered a classic.
Totally.
Daniel Bryan is so good, and that's the reason why he's Daniel Bryan. Man, because he doesn't phone it in. No matter what he's doing, amazing. No matter who he's wrestling, he does not phone it in. Kofi Kingston, maybe it's controversial for me to say this right now. He's had a long career of phoning it in.
Okay.
The last few months, he has been living up to and beyond anything he's ever done before.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that with any disrespect. Kofi's a very good performer. He's very solid. He's a very consistent performer,
right.
Which sometimes is better than being a great performer in some ways. All due respect to Kofi, he has been on fire for the last couple months. He has been delivering at a level that not a lot of guys are able to deliver at. And to be honest, that I was kind of surprised he's been able to deliver at consistently. And they went out there and they tore it down at WrestleMania. And they delivered a classic match that you want to go back and rewatch.
This has just been a very fun build for me. And it's really cool to look at it as one of those amazing organic stories that we just don't get very often, and when they come around they feel special, and this feels like one of those special stories because he lucked out essentially by getting put into the Elimination Chamber match when Ali got hurt. And suddenly it was like, I don't know what happened, he flipped some kind of switch and just decided, well, I'm gonna grab a brass ring while I'm out there.
Yeah, man.
And all of a sudden, he became the guy. He became the guy that the crowd wanted, and he just hasn't turned it off since that night. And it's been amazing watching this entire story unfold. And it's always weird to kind of look back at it now and go, well, what if Ali didn't get hurt? Like, what would this match have been? Like, I know there were rumors that this was going to be Kevin Owens' match at WrestleMania, or maybe Ali would have been super over in the Elimination Chamber, and he got this spot. But Kofi was in the right place at the right time, and then decided to take what he had and run with it, man. And he turned it into this, and it's awesome to see it turn into what it did. But not only,
and the WWE followed through on it for once.
They did,
because a lot of times you see this kind. A lot of times we see this kind of groundswell and this night where somebody just steps up huge and captures that kind of lightning in a bottle. And then the WWE blows it off right away and then writes it off. Whether the crowd is done with it or not, the WWE is like, okay, well, you can have Fastlane, but then we got Mania coming up, so you got to go back and do your pancake thing.
Exactly. And I think that's what a lot of people were kind of worried about too. So it was pretty amazing to see them follow.
Well, and that's kind of the story that they told too.
Totally.
So, like, the WWE hit it on all cylinders with this one.
They nailed it with this one. This was the best storyline. I feel like probably, yes, I will say it. This was the best storyline leading into WrestleMania. I think it outshined the women's. Even though the women's is up there as one of the best, I feel like this one inched it out just a little bit. And this is my match of the night. Definitely. This is my match of the night.
Like, we've mentioned the women's storyline going in I really like what they set up, and I thought the execution was okay. But they're, I don't want to dog Ronda Rousey because I really like what she did while she was going there. But she got out of her element during the build up to that, and it showed some.
Yeah.
The execution on this one was pretty well perfect. So I think that would be the line that was drawn there. If you're going to put one above the other,
it's hard to do it, but I do feel like this was this just felt like my most anticipated match because of the last couple weeks has been so entertaining to me, and then the match totally paid off.
Yeah.
I mean, you talked about Daniel Bryan. This match was awesome. Like the story that they told, like Daniel Bryan just kept out wrestling Kofi throughout this entire match, and it was awesome. But they kept building to those like just great moments, great WrestleMania moments. When he finally connected with the Trouble in Paradise, that felt like a big deal, and then he won with it. And I mean, it was just like, it was awesome. It was just one of those great WrestleMania feels that you want to get out of an event like this. So yeah, this was my favorite match. I thought it was awesome. I'm a big Daniel Bryan fan anyway. So it's, first of all, we can't even ignore the fact that it's so great seeing him back in there doing his thing again and getting another big WrestleMania match like this, because Kofi won, and that's great, but man, Daniel Bryan needs so much credit for this too.
And all the way.
Yeah.
He's not the nostalgia act.
Yes.
He's not he's not part
I loved, that was my favorite part about that build up was him, the fact that Kofi was him from 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And he was Vince or H or whoever was holding him down back then. Like almost verbatim.
Yep.
Yeah, it was good.
It was fantastic.
Kofi Kingston is the first WWE black champion, first black WWE champion.
Oh, really?
So that's big. That's a big deal. Yep, he's the first one for the WWE. First, The Rock has always had an asterisk because he's half black.
Rock's half.
So Kofi Kingston is our first black champion for the WWE.
Booker was the
WCW World Heavyweight.
Well,
champion.
he was the World Heavyweight.
Big gold belt.
Big gold belt.
Yep. So this is our
That's
first.
all he was.
That's all he was.
So this is our first.
I mean, he was that several times. But.
Yeah. And that's a big deal.
Yeah.
But I just, wow.
So that's cool. He made history. Kofi made history with this belt too. So that's good stuff. I do feel like we should point out that the WWE kind of spoiled the finish a little bit, and you pointed it out during. But it wasn't just that; they did it twice. WWE spoiled it twice. So first of all, what you noticed is that the table was outside at ringside with a sheet clearly over the real championship, because Daniel Bryan's been carrying around the green belt for a while, the wood one,
which I love.
And so
that hemp and wood
I
belt.
do too.
That's
I love
amazing.
it. It's so good. It was so good. But you pointed it out right away.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, I think they just accidentally spoiled the ending because they just showed that table and they shouldn't have shown that table.
Yep.
But then they ended up putting Daniel Bryan's belt over it, so it was like, oh, maybe they did. Maybe that's just a whole.
Maybe I saw something else.
So in the middle of that match, the WWE shop website put the Kofi Championship shirts on sale.
Oh, really?
In the middle of that match.
How do you screw that up?
I know. So the ones that they brought out at the end, they were on sale on the website in the middle of that match. So WWE twice they spoiled the finish to that match.
Man.
So thankfully, I didn't
shopping in the middle of that match.
well, that was about to be my point. I mean, how many people for them to have spoiled it? How many people are sitting there watching this match, watching WrestleMania, going, "Oh, I wonder what's on WWE Shop."
I like this match. I'm gonna buy a T-shirt right now.
From now on,
can you set up your notifications for WWE Shop Zone? Because I need to know when they release something.
From now on, every time I watch a pay-per-view, I'm just gonna bring up the WWE Shop, just keep hitting refresh.
Yeah, just to see what kind of the things they spoil.
Yep.
Oh man. All right, so
quick pause. Because you mentioned him a second ago, was Kevin Owens anywhere on this?
Nope.
I know he went on the main. Was he on the pre-show?
No, I don't think he was anywhere.
No, they wrecked his comeback because they let Kofi's momentum gobble him up.
Basically, and I think that's what happened. Yeah. All right, so this brings us into John's favorite match of the night: Samoa Joe versus Rey Mysterio.
It might have been. I love
The match was awesome.
Yeah.
This match went 1 minute. Legit. It was the shortest match of the night.
Good.
It was about 65 seconds too long.
Yeah, Rey Mysterio went for the 619, and Samoa Joe just locked him into the choke and tapped him out.
You know how weird it is rooting for Rey Mysterio?
I like
Pretty
Samoa
weird.
Joe.
I do like Samoa
I
Joe.
like Samoa Joe. I guess I don't know what happened specifically, but I there's some talk that Ray actually had an ankle injury.
Yeah.
So they ended up having to cut this way short because
Man,
of that.
that was all this
so,
match needed to be anyway.
Yeah.
Nobody wanted to see. He did his dime drop and the 619 and a couple other of his signatures, and then Samoa Joe tapped him out. Nobody except Samoa Joe's #1 fan wanted to watch 20 minutes of Rey Mysterio and Samoa Joe throwing those heavy kicks and just beating up Rey Mysterio for 20 minutes. Nobody wanted to see that.
That would have been great though. It would have been awesome watching more Samoa Joe.
I like Samoa Joe,
So why do you want to see him more?
but I didn't want to see.
But what about all that build up with Dominic, dude? We didn't see Dominic at all.
Man.
All right, next match: Roman Reigns taking on Drew McIntyre. I love Drew McIntyre's entrance,
with
where
the cops,
the cops out there playing him in with the bagpipes and the drums. I thought that was sweet.
Yeah.
Um,
And the sound was better. Sometimes when the bagpipes are there, the bagpipes and the drum, they don't mic them well, and so it kind of loses a little something because you're hearing like the house mics pick up.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just like, you okay, John?
Yeah. I want you to play bagpipes at my funeral.
Okay, you got it. No, but it was mic'd cool. It sounded good.
I liked it.
Drew McIntyre,
He's awesome.
he looks like a killer, man. Coming down that ramp through, because they had him lined up on either side.
Yeah.
And just marching down through them. That was awesome.
I feel like that's a good sign that they gave him like a special big fancy entrance too, right? Like that's.
I was telling you guys over the last week I was watching some slightly older stuff from maybe a decade or so ago, and I saw a match with half of Drew McIntyre. Wellness policy Drew McIntyre.
Oh my wellness policy Drew.
He is so big now.
He is
so big. So this was Roman Reigns' first singles match since his return. I don't know. I didn't really get into this one too much.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
It was solid. They kind of, man. There's not a lot. We don't. They worked a very. They were kind of brawling it out.
Yeah.
And they worked kind of like two bigger guys, kind of rugged. Working that kind of rugged brawling style. We don't see that a whole lot now. There's so many wrestlers in there now that we don't get a lot of this. This used to be the thing.
Right,
their match was kind of old school in that it used to be like, oh, let's get two big guys out there and they'll just slug it out. And a lot of the big guys worked the big guy style, so when they got out there they just kind of slugged it out. I liked seeing this match because it was that. Even the guys who kind of work that style, Sheamus kind of works that style.
Right.
He was in the Fatal 4-Way where they had to spot everything out. You know what I mean? Brock Lesnar, who gets crazy. I mean, he was beating the tar out of Rollins for a little while, but then that match was so quick, and it wasn't like it was a brawl back and forth. So I enjoyed this match.
Yeah.
I thought it was perfect for this part of the card also.
Yep.
Not to say that it's Mania, so you should always go out there and try to steal the show. Not to say that these guys did or didn't do that, but that style of match is it's going to top out at some point there.
Right.
But this was the perfect. I mean, we were just coming down from the Kofi thing. We got that weird little Samoa Joe, Rey Mysterio, like quick. And then and then we got to steer into something that lasted a little longer. But as I say, I'm trying to not to say it in a way like I'm putting down the match at all, because I'm trying to say that I enjoyed it. But it wasn't going to be like a high spot area or anything like that. You were able to come down, but not because what you were watching was bad. It was just calmer.
Yeah.
And so it was a nice spot as someone watching the show to come to that level, but still see quality work, and then build yourself back up so you've got more energy when the show comes to a higher point again.
Yes.
I enjoyed it.
And Roman takes home the win. Got that Superman punch.
Boy, wouldn't that have been weird for him to come back from leukemia and lose McIntyre at WrestleMania?
Yeah, I would assume that would be exactly that. Yeah. All right, so that brings us into our no-holds-barred match with Triple H and Batista. So Batista tripped into the ring to start things off.
I forgot about that.
And then Triple H rode on his Mad Max car to the ring, which was...
Oh, how stupid was that?
Just the
I forgot
worst.
how bad this was.
it was just
real bad.
And
I
then...
have good things to say about the match. I forgot
I
how
like
bad
the
the
match.
beginning
All right,
was.
man,
Oh
so-
my gosh!
was-
Can we talk about that Mad Max thing? That was the
What else do we need to
dumbest
say about it?
entrance. It was the second dumbest entrance he's ever had, and that hurts me because his dumbest entrance was the stupid Terminator entrance.
The Terminator
and
one.
that
I
hurts
forgot
my
about the
soul, man.
Terminator one.
It hurts my soul.
Was that dumber than
Oh,
this?
way dumber than
That
this.
was-
That was so dumber
I don't
than
remember
this.
it well enough.
It was-
I remember it existing. I couldn't tell
was-
you.
Arnold
It
was part of it, though. He was on the screen.
He was- No, that was so bad.
This was dumb.
This
All
was
right.
dumb. And then it got dumber and just went, And then he still got his full entrance. Okay, so
Dude.
that's the worst thing.
That's-
So let's
yeah, that's
talk
the
about
worst
that
part
because
about
they
most
do.
of these,
yeah,
yeah.
because they start running. Well, but it's different. Well, okay, because a lot of times his entrance, his big stupid entrance, is like a few minutes at the top of the ramp. They do the theatrics, and then it stops, and he gets his normal entrance. This was like a full entrance. They played like a video and showed a bunch of cars driving.
A 9-minute video of nothing.
Yeah.
With
Video game
nonsense
cars.
Anyway,
Video
yeah.
game cars.
And then they comes out in this Mad Max car with a guy who doesn't exactly know how to drive it and is also just like dressed like my dad.
Yeah, man.
Like, like put the guy in a costume, spray his mouth silver or something.
Yeah.
Please. And he drives all the way to the ring, and then when he finally gets all the way to the ring, and you're like, well, thank goodness this monstrosity is almost over. Then the lights go out, and it waits for 30 seconds, and then it starts with the time to play the game.
Yeah,
Bow,
and-
bow.
And then he still does, like, he waits for the same appropriate part of the song
Yeah,
to get
man.
up on the top and do his pose and the water. You know what I mean? Yeah, it was dumb. Ugh, H, come on, bro. Come on, bro.
Worst part of Mania?
No.
Really?
I don't know. I don't know what I would put underneath it, honestly.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It was a pretty good Mania. So.
Yeah, maybe worst.
So this match is... I don't know. Okay, so I feel like there are good things in this match.
I like this match.
I really enjoyed the beginning of this match.
The beginning, yes. That's the thing. The beginning was great because I thought H did some really cool, really clever things
Yes.
here. Like when he had the pliers and he was like doing the stuff to his fingers was gross.
Yep.
When he ripped the nose ring out, that was awesome and got a great reaction from the crowd.
Yes.
All this stuff in the beginning was awesome. But I feel like it hit this wall at some point. And then we got that match from H,
Yep.
where he's like, we're gonna make this slow and drag it out because it's so epic.
Yeah.
And it just didn't connect in that way at all.
I don't.
Well, I mean,
Well,
Not
see,
because I'm
see,
not
I
I
like
feel
argue,
like we could have shortened so much of this down.
Yes, there's
and
a
it would have
whole-
been such a better match at the end. I feel like.
There's as much as I liked a lot of this card, I don't think there's anything on this card I wouldn't have liked more if it were 5 minutes shorter, just for the just because of the overall size of the card.
This
So I fully
match-
agree with you there, and I'm not saying it was perfect or that you had to love it or anything like that. I'm saying when I walked into a Triple H Batista match when neither of them, Batista hasn't seen a ring in 5 years.
Yeah.
H sort of kind of wrestles every once in a while.
Yeah.
When Mania comes around or when Saudi Arabia money comes around.
Yeah.
Right.
I wasn't expecting an old school 5-star H and Batista match, but I got two old guys going out there and giving it one go, and I enjoyed it.
I was super impressed with. I thought they were both crisper and had better timing and seemed, in better ring shape than I think either of them had any right to be. I was super impressed with their
Absolutely.
their abilities out there. I agree with you that it kind of hit a wall and just stopped moving for a little while, but then I felt like it came back. And for sure, there's probably about 7 minutes they could have cut out of the middle of this match.
That's the way I feel.
Yes.
Exactly. Like, I like some of the stuff even they did at the end. Like, I enjoyed like when Batista went for the Batista bomb and H held on to the sledgehammer and started to do the same thing he did to Undertaker.
Yeah.
But then Batista just power bombed him and he didn't get there in time.
Yep.
I thought that was a good spot and a cool throwback to like we expected him to do it and then he didn't. Batista got him.
Yep.
And I even enjoyed the Ric Flair shenanigans at the end.
For sure.
I thought that was great.
I liked the end of this match. I really liked the beginning. I liked the end. This match gets a win in my opinion.
So this match was almost 25 minutes long, which made it the longest match of the night.
No,
of course, it's H, man. It's H.
No, I don't like it anymore.
So H got the longest match of the night.
That's what I'm saying. You cut 7 minutes out of the middle of this match.
Exactly. You take a big chunk out of the middle, this would have been a much better match.
I wish you hadn't told me how long it went.
25 minutes.
I don't
That's
like
how H does, man.
Oh, timeout though.
Hey,
12
talk
minutes
about
was that stupid entrance.
Well, I don't know if this counts the entrances. That's probably just the match.
Yeah, these are all just the matches.
That's probably plus add the entrance to that, man.
Because they didn't. Samoa
We're talking
Joe,
about how
Samoa
long-
Joe
so
and
this-
Rey Mysterio didn't make it to the ring in under a minute.
Yeah.
So this match is specifically is why I haven't slept in 2 days.
Exactly. This match right here is part of the reason the show went so long.
I love you, Hunter, but I hate you.
Oh my gosh. All right, so before we move on to the next match, somewhere in here, we definitely need to talk about the Elias segment, right? Because the Elias segment happened between one of these. I don't remember which one of these.
There's somewhere in there.
But
it was golden.
It was awesome because Elias came out. He's the musical guest this year, which I have to give props to them doing this with Elias instead of giving us a real band that we don't really want to see play, which they usually do. And he did some fun stuff where
We got
like
a real band too.
Who? Him?
Joan Jett.
Oh, Joan Jett. Well, that was an entrance music thing. That's different.
Spoiler.
I mean, like when they bring in a musical interlude in the middle of the show,
just to do that.
and we have to listen to like a bunch of
like
songs,
when we had to
like
listen to
Kid Rock or
WWE's favorite
Limp
band.
Bizkit, or when they do that stuff. So I love this. This was fun because on the screen, Elias was playing drums and piano, and then in the ring he's playing guitar. So he's like a whole band, and he plays a song with himself, which is great. And then in the middle of it, we get this kind of weird video package that's just like about Babe Ruth.
Yeah.
Because they're in New York, But at the end of this video package, John Cena's old entrance music hits, the Doctor of Thugonomics music. What?
I loved this segment.
It was so good, dude.
John Cena looked like such an old dude.
But he's like a 45-year-old man wearing his old stuff from when he was in his early 20s. But also like putting that hat on backwards totally took years off his life, I feel.
Yeah,
like.
man. Hit his stupid old man hair.
Yeah, man. That hair that he's had recently, the hat totally hid that and made it look so much better. But this was awesome because like the old music hit, which I always loved. He came out in full rapper attire. Yep. Dropped some awesome rhymes on Elias, which was just funny, just old school John Cena stuff. The crowd was so into this, and it was so cool to see like the crowd happy to see John Cena and doing something like this because I guess we've hit that point. Now he's the fun nostalgia act, which is so weird that we've hit that point with John Cena, but that's where we are now.
I forgot how much I loved the old school
man, dude.
And when he would come out and do the rhyme.
I love that old music, dude.
Promos. I think it was the first Access I was ever at, which would have been WrestleMania 2000, so it would have been 20 years ago. Maybe, I don't know, maybe it was the second one, but we're very early 2000, very much 20 years ago.
Yep.
Yeah.
They had a ring set up, and every once in a while the lower tier guys would come out and do a short match or whatever, and one of those was John Cena when he was just getting started doing some of that stuff. And he ended up running his mouth on the microphone a little bit, and somebody like heckled him, and he basically like rhyme battled this dude from the crowd. Now it may have been a plant, I don't know. Didn't feel like it was, felt like it was pretty organic, and he just tore it up with that guy sitting right there. And every time I see him do that, I always remember that moment because I remember sitting there, crowd barely knowing who John Cena was, and being like, "Oh, this is awesome! This is a lot of fun." And then again, thinking about that while watching it now and going, man, that is 20 years ago.
That's insane,
you know?
right?
But he still got it.
Yeah,
that was
great.
awesome.
He delivered.
I love that he said, like, out with the AA.
You're going to get the FU.
You're going to get the FU.
Yeah,
that was great. And he hit him with the FU, the attitude adjustment. And we got the 5-knuckle shuffle. We got the whole thing, and the crowd loved it.
Yeah, the crowd was with it all the way.
All the way.
He was wearing this 20-pound chain around his neck. And I remember when he was getting ready to do that 5-knuckle shuffle, I'm like, when this thing busts Elias's face open, I'm going to laugh for days. And as soon as I said that, like, he grabbed it with one hand as he was falling to the other to make sure that didn't happen.
Yeah. It was good stuff. All right, so next match is Baron Corbin facing off against Kurt Angle in his retirement match.
Again,
yeah, Kurt Angle's retirement match again. Yeah, so no shenanigans. I think everybody was kind of expecting or hoping. I think everybody was hoping that Baron Corbin wasn't going to be his actual last match.
Yeah.
John Cena was like a big rumored favorite, and obviously that didn't happen since we saw him in that other segment.
I heard people talking about Undertaker too, and
Undertaker,
I was like,
yeah,
I was like, hope not.
Well, I think everybody was
Angle
just
can't move anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
That
would be
that's
awful.
why I think this was the best way to go with that.
Oh yeah, this is great.
Yeah. I mean, it was a good match. It was a good put over for a younger guy. It was a great spot to go out on.
Angle busted out the moonsault.
Yeah, he
busted out the moonsault.
I was afraid he was going to bust something.
You remember how scared we all were?
We
were all like, "No, Angle, don't do it!"
And that was
your
the
neck
thing.
Doesn't work.
I don't need to go back and look and go like, you remember how awesome it was when Kurt Angle with no neck got together with 90-year-old rapper John Cena and. I mean, and that could have been a cool moment too, potentially.
Yeah.
But this was good. I think this is him going out on his back, putting over
a young guy.
Somebody, putting over a young guy. I think that's a great way for it to go.
Yep. Baron Corbin gets.
I was totally fine with it.
Yeah, Baron Corbin gets to talk about retiring Kurt Angle.
Yep,
it's good stuff. Got some WrestleMania feels in.
God, I love Kurt Angle so much.
Yeah.
For so long.
I did like because he gave a little speech afterwards and he said, now hit that music because I want to hear those 2 words from all of you guys. And so the crowd's doing the "you suck" thing, and I love it because right in the front row there was a sign that said "you never sucked."
Yeah.
I was like, that is just so how perfect, man. That's great. Brings us to Finn Balor, the Demon Finn Balor, taking on Bobby Lashley with Lio Rush. Super short match, which is what I expected out of this. Since as soon as they were like, he's facing the Demon, I was like, well, that's basically a WrestleMania squash match, right? And that's basically what we got here. I mean, it's a 4-minute match, but that's pretty short when you think about it compared to everything else going on in the night.
4 hours in makeup.
Yeah.
4 hours, 4 minutes in the ring.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, he came into the full theatrics, big entrance, crowd was way into it. He got in the ring. He basically schooled Bobby Lashley, hit him with the coup de grace at the end, and won back the IC title.
Yeah,
it was what it was.
This is a thing, man. This is a thing. It makes me sad is not the right word. But do you remember when Finn Balor was at NXT?
Yeah.
And he did the Demon for huge moments.
Yes.
And then had epic matches, and it was huge and memorable.
Yep.
I mean, that's where I learned about. He made NXT destination programming. I had to tune in to see Finn Balor. He made the takeovers feel special. Like the takeovers felt bigger than a lot of the WWE pay-per-views,
right? And
largely because it was like, it's Demon time. You know what I mean?
Right.
I get to see the Demon versus Shinsuke. I get to see the Demon versus Pac. What's his name? Or what was his name?
X.
Not that.
Him.
Pac was. Man, he was a little guy. I can't remember his name.
Yes,
I know.
Sean Waltman.
You know what? A lot of our fans know who I'm talking about when I say Pac. They know who I'm talking about.
My favorite part is that I have legitimately no idea.
Yeah. Nigel? Not Nigel. Come on, guys.
I'm lost.
He was a little swole, flippy guy. All right, I'll give up.
Was it Nigel? Wasn't that a little swole thick ago?
I can't remember if that was
looked
He did. He looked Elvish. You know who I'm talking about now. Yeah.
Oh,
it was not Nigel because Nigel is Nigel McGuinness.
Why can't I think of it? But I know who you're talking about.
Now you know who I'm talking about.
Because he just recently left.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
But they had an amazing match at a takeover that I love. Long story short, so it makes me sad, for lack of a better term, that now Neville.
Oh
Thank you, John.
God.
Good job.
Thank Google.
Thank you, Google. I love you, Google.
You're welcome.
Whoa.
So it makes me sad now that the Demon is like, well, let's just go squash Bobby Lashley in 4 minutes for the Intercontinental Championship.
Also, he was the first Universal Champion with WWE, and then he got hurt, and then they were just like, well, we're done with him.
Yep.
He got hurt.
Never mind.
And that sucks, man, because I'm the same way. I was so excited when he got called up. I was so into it when he won that belt. I was like, oh my God, this is going to be amazing. And then he got hurt, which sucks. That happens sometimes.
Right.
But they never put him back in that spot after that. And that's such a shame.
Yeah.
It's such a shame.
And it's not like that's a precedent because Rollins has been hurt how many times?
A bunch.
And he's back in that spot every time he gets hurt,
How did Balor get hurt?
In that match.
I remember him.
He took a power bomb into the guardrail and jacked up his shoulder.
It was the buckle bomb that Seth does, but he did it into the guardrail and it jacked up his shoulder.
He's hurt a few people with that, I think.
Sting. He hurt Sting with it too.
Yeah.
I don't know if I count Sting. Sting was 1,000 years old.
Yeah.
Sting, whatever Sting hurt was going to give out anyway. whether it gave out in that match or whether it gave out on the golf course the week after, that was not Rollins' fault.
All right, so that brings us to the main event for the Women's Championship, or for both the Raw Women's Championship and the SmackDown Championship.
Winner
takes all. Becky Lynch taking on Ronda Rousey and Charlotte Flair. Charlotte with her awesome Ric Flair helicopter entrance.
Didn't like it.
No.
It didn't seem to fit, because it didn't seem part of her entrance. Like it felt like when somebody shows up in a limo on Raw.
Oh yeah.
I'm with that. Like I knew what they were going for, but it didn't work for me because it's not like it landed and she entered. Right. It's not like they clearly
they did Ronda's entrance before she actually came out. After that,
like
they showed that clip, and then we got the Joan Jett live play of Ronda's music, which was cool.
Yeah, I like that.
And then we got the Charlotte entrance. So I feel that.
I said it just didn't flow right.
Yeah.
And hold on can I ask for a second? Maybe I don't know if I'm sure John, you didn't hear anything. Danny, did you hear anything? Why they decided to make this winner take all?
I have no idea what
It seems so.
It's weird to me. Like I feel bad for Asuka.
Yeah.
You were just talking about feeling bad for Finn Balor. I also feel bad for Asuka because she's kind of in that same boat.
Yep.
Where man, she was awesome in NXT, and when she got the call up, it was so great watching her just because she went on that huge undefeated streak until Mania last year. And I didn't necessarily feel like she should have lost to Charlotte last year.
Right.
But I was okay with it to see where they were going to go with it, except they went nowhere with it.
Yes.
Asuka's kind of been stuck ever since.
Well, but that's kind of a thing, man. Before we move on, nobody who has been since NXT became NXT. Nobody who has been big in NXT has been big in the WWE.
That's crazy.
And it to the point it seems off almost. You know what I mean? It almost seems exactly. It almost seems like it can't be accident.
They're totally different. They've grown into very different styles.
Yes.
And it all I know they're the same fans, but they don't act the same.
Well, they're almost not the same fans, though.
I assume it's the same people in both seats, but it's like they're wearing two different hats when they're at each show. You know what I mean?
You're not wrong about that, except that still, when Shinsuke Nakamura came in, he was a big, huge deal, and everybody went crazy, and everybody loved his entrance, and he got huge reactions, and he wrestled, and then they kind of just started sticking him in random tag matches and put him on SmackDown every week, and then he wrestled AJ Styles at a Mania.
That at Mania. I was like, remember when that guy was a big deal?
Right, exactly.
I wanted him to be a big deal.
Yeah,
he was awesome.
And that's kind of how it's happened for everybody. You know what I mean?
That's such a bummer.
I almost feel like it's shooting themselves in the foot. Like, they bring these guys up, and they're like, all right, let's bury them for a little while and make sure they understand what's going on here. And then they stop getting reactions. It's like, all right, well, I mean, now they're not getting reactions, so we're not going to push them anymore. Like, well, you buried it. Like,
right.
What do you want?
Exactly. And that's the thing, you know, like, I would totally be on board if it was, if we could watch it and see, like, well, NXT is a different thing than it is here. And, you know, when they're over at NXT, they're not necessarily, you know, that doesn't necessarily translate here. Except that a lot of these guys that are huge at NXT, it translates. And when they come over, they get big welcomes and they get big reactions until the WWE squashes it. And I don't get it. And I can say that having just seen it go the other way, because I noticed when they brought out Ciampa and Gargano, and nobody cared.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. They're big at NXT. They were not big on.
They were right.
But Ricochet, who has been big on NXT, is huge on Raw.
He's like the hottest thing right now on Raw. Yeah. People mark for him hard.
So
it's weird.
I don't know, but
I mean, that was the other observation I was making while watching that NXT show. Like, I wouldn't want to be called up.
Right. Yeah.
Probably, you know.
I know, right? You almost want to just stay put.
I'm sure if they started flashing the checks at me, I'd change my mind real quick.
Yeah, I don't know what the difference in pay is.
There's a lot of draw to being a big fish in a small pond, too, you know?
Yeah.
And as many guys as you've seen go over and just get buried, like, you can stand here and be king of the world.
We're ready to call you
in front of this crowd.
We're ready to call you up. Can I just get fired?
Yeah.
At least I get to go get that great catering at every show.
Is there any chance with the Asuka? Because she just ended up being in like the Battle Royal, right?
Right. So that's the weird thing, is because they finally kind of threw her a bone, and she won the championship, the SmackDown championship. But then she kind of got overshadowed by this huge storyline with Becky and Charlotte. This is one of those things that, like, that can happen sometimes too, right? Like, this was another kind of lightning in a bottle scenario. Like, Becky grabbed a brass ring too, and got a natural progression into the storyline she was in. So that whole thing totally just overshadowed Asuka and everything she was doing.
I would wonder, and I if this were the reasoning, I wouldn't agree with it, but just to throw it out there, like, if they didn't have anything for Asuka, or if they didn't want another women's match to really draw attention, maybe they just did that so that the belt had a spot on the show. Without the other women's championship just being part of the Battle Royal before the show even started. You know what I mean?
I feel like they were doing it to try to add another layer to Becky being out of place. Like, because they kept telling the story of, like, well, Ronda's like this undefeated monster and she's a champion, and Charlotte is wrestling royalty and she's like already like a 16-time women's champion. Right. You know, so I almost feel like
if that's and that very well maybe also, but I feel like if that is the case, they pulled the trigger way too late on that.
Yeah, me too, because it was like last week.
Yeah, exactly.
But so like I just feel like it wanted to be like, well, look, now it's like these two champions and this other chick. Like, I feel like that's the story they wanted to tell. I don't know. That's my only guess. Yeah. I don't understand why they did it either, but it is what it is. It's for both belts now, because now we have one champion with both of those belts. And
sorry, back to the main event.
Yep. So what'd you think of this?
So I have a lot of thoughts on this.
I think we'll have a lot of discussion about this.
Yeah. So first of all, I think it is a testament to what these girls, in particular Becky Lynch, what these women have accomplished and how they have reached up and snagged that brass ring, that the crowd sat there through this whole match.
Yeah, man.
Because the last few years, at least, we have seen by the time we get to like pre-main and definitely the main, the crowd starts to leave.
You're right. Well, they wanted this match.
They wanted this match.
Like, they came to WrestleMania for this match, which is awesome.
This was past midnight local time, wasn't it? Like, by the time it ended,
at
least.
Yes, definitely. Definitely.
Yep. So, man, that being said, I don't know. This crowd, not the crowd. I mean, I felt like this match kind of flopped.
It was, I think, they went too fast or something. I feel like they needed to kind of slow it down a little bit. It felt sloppy in a lot of areas.
Sloppy.
It felt sloppy, and that could have been just a mixture of everything, right? Like the nerves. There was a lot of pressure on them in the spot that they were in. I'm sure they were all amped up and excited. But it was just sloppier than usual for these three.
But then there's also that thing. So like being amped up and being excited. They were amped up and excited all day, and then had to sit there and manage that.
Oh my gosh!
Until
6 hours of WrestleMania until it's time for them to wrestle.
Right.
Yeah, that's got to be rough. That's got to be so hard.
Yeah. I've encountered that in our little indie shows where you get amped up, and you're so amped up by the time it's time you've burned yourself out already.
Yeah.
And then for sure.
Yeah, that's what kind of sucked about this is like I was so excited for this match too, and there were definitely some great spots, and I was enjoying watching these girls like they were definitely like in there with this stuff, right?
Yes.
Like when they were hitting each other, they were hitting each other.
Yeah.
And I love that. I love that they're not afraid to fight each other or really get in there. That's been what's great about all of these girls, honestly. They're good at this. They're good wrestlers, and it's awesome. But it felt very, very sloppy and in a lot of spots. There was the one spot that I really liked that looked scary as heck, and it was where the setup was real sloppy, but Ronda was attempting to do an armbar on both of them over the top rope.
Yeah.
And Becky broke loose and hit off the opposite rope and drop kicked Ronda in the back, which pushed her out to bump on the floor on the outside.
Right.
But like she when she took that hit from Becky, she like just barely squeaked the edge of the apron, which made the whole thing look even more disgusting. Like I thought she was gonna fall on the top of her head.
Yeah.
I was a little scared for her for a second, but I thought that was just like a good spot.
That was a cool
setup
spot.
was sloppy, but the payoff was awesome.
Yeah.
So I liked that one.
You could probably say that about a lot of their spots.
Yeah.
There's a lot of slop, and there's a lot of slop that then landed.
Yeah.
With like a wow.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yep.
Charlotte's natural selection on both of them looked like it missed both of them.
Yeah.
The weird flip over, like that move, kind of is like
it's a dumb move.
Yeah. So like it looked like she didn't even hook Ronda, but Ronda still sold it. I don't know. Something was off about it.
It was off. It was bad. It's a bad move. I didn't like when basically that was basically the move. Kurt Hennig used to do it. And, and you can't say a lot of bad things about Kurt Hennig, but I never liked when he did that move either.
Yeah. When they got to the go home spot, they set the table up in the corner, and they did the spot where Charlotte got hip tossed into it, and then the table like didn't break.
Yeah.
So she just kind of like hit the table and rolled out, and there was no noise, there was no impact sound,
Yep.
and I felt real bad for them because I was like, man, that should have been like one of those big like booms, and the crowd would have reacted, but instead she just kind of hit it and fell out, and the crowd did not react at all because there was no sound.
Yeah,
and it was
there's no sound in it.
Oh, man.
And you always plan that spot, and we can talk about that as wrestlers because you always plan that table spot, and you envision the table exploding when you hit it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you've got, 115-pound Charlotte Flair jumping at this table, and most of those tables are usually rated to hold 200 pounds or so.
Yeah.
So you got her diving at it, and it cracks, but you know what I mean?
Like 9 feet tall. She's got to weigh a little more than that.
But that pretty much, like, once they did that to her, Ronda picked up Becky for her finish, and Becky kind of like hooked her for like a crucifix and rolled up for a pin and got the 3 count, but it was real awkward.
Yeah.
Like, so Ronda's shoulder was totally up, at least for the one, right? So like her shoulder's way up off the mat, and then you saw her put her shoulders down by the time the ref hit 3. And also it didn't feel like it was the end of the match. Like it was like the placement was really weird because it didn't feel like it was time yet. And everybody felt that way, right? Because the ref hit 3 and the whole crowd was kind of like, oh wait, that was it? Yay, Becky! Like there's definitely like this long pause. Like you didn't get that big, 1, 2. Like nobody expected that to be the finish.
Yeah.
It kind of came out of nowhere, and it felt weird, and it was awkward. So I don't know what happened. I don't know.
It just you don't want. we don't want the WrestleMania main event to be surprise out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
you
not,
want it to be kind of more definitive,
we want it.
right?
We want it to be definitive. We want to see it coming. We want that moment.
Yeah.
That is, you know, the Hulk up,
man.
You know, and we're programmed that way, and maybe because of Hulk Hogan, except that lots of dudes have done it. You know what I mean?
Right, you're right.
Like
right.
even you know, Stone Cold Steve Austin, who hit the stunner and used the stunner because he could hit it out of nowhere, and it was quick like a snake bite. Right? Like the finish of his match was still, you know, punch, trash talk, here's some fingers, and here's your stunner.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, it wasn't like, you know, he wasn't getting beat up, and then all of a sudden, you know.
Stunner.
Yeah. You know, and there was you know, we expected and we wanted, you know, and I think, and that's one of the things I think they failed at the end of this match, too. They never gave us Ronda Becky. And that's what locked us into this match.
Right.
You know, that's why this match happens. That's why this match is the main event.
Well,
and we wanted a moment where, and they had the chance to do it because we wanted the moment where, you know, they flip Charlotte into the table and, you know, she rolls out and she's gone.
Exactly.
And Ronda turns around and there's Becky Lynch doing her "I'm the man now, dog, let's do this," and they go at it. And then Becky wins, you know, and we didn't get that.
As I say, because the setup was right there. I mean,
yeah.
You know, Charlotte hits that table and it explodes into a billion pieces, and she's wiped out. And then we get, you know, 5 more minutes of solid match, except that the table just sort of bent and Charlotte just sort of rolled, and then the match was over before we even stopped laughing at the table not breaking.
Yeah, that's basically how it felt.
Yeah.
And you know, the other thing is, like, they spent so much of this feud building up the Disarm Her.
Right.
As Becky's finish. And, you know, every time they teased her hooking that in the match, the crowd got up. The crowd got excited. Like, that's what we wanted to see, right? Yep. We wanted to see her hook that move in the middle of the ring and tap somebody out.
Yep.
Why wouldn't you give that to us?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
they didn't give that to us, and this is a failing of wrestling in a lot of ways, because everybody went, well, we've set up Ronda as this monster.
Yeah.
You can't just tap her out.
Yeah, and
we're not going to tap out Ronda. And to be fair, Ronda may have said, hey, look, I do this legit. I'm not tapping.
She's never tapped, right?
Right.
Not even in
you know
MMA.
what I mean? Yeah.
So that's like a thing with her.
Yeah.
So,
but there's
even more reason to at least tease it, you know?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, there's a lot of other things you could have done that would have got that feeling across rather than the surprise roll up.
Yeah.
You know, and when you're in the main event, of WrestleMania, and I'm going to educate any young wrestlers out there listening right now. When you're in the main event of a show, any show, you want to pay it off big. There needs to be that moment of bigness, and you never get that big feeling from a surprise win.
Right. Yep.
You know, so you always and that's what we didn't get from Becky and Ronda. You know, even if they had just thrown down for a few minutes, even if they had just, you know, finally done something. I mean, Becky could have, you know, shown off a new finish. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
She could have used. I mean, the guy that if she had, you know, she is so the Stone Cold right now. If she had hit Ronda with the stunner,
oh my
and
God,
pinned her,
dude,
that place would have come unglued. You know, but as it was, they were just kind of like, oh, it's over.
Yeah,
you know, and the pin went bad.
The pin went bad. I mean,
this
everything
match just fizzled right out.
Such a bummer. Like, and you know, you don't want to take it away from her, because like, the good news is that, like, historically speaking, history is always going to remember her as like the winner of the first women's main event at WrestleMania. She's the first like undisputed women's champion.
Yep.
You know, she's got all that going for it, and that's definitely what the highlights are always going to focus on for the rest of time.
I think that's a positive point to make about
absolutely,
it too,
absolutely.
Like, it wasn't what we hoped it would be. It also wasn't a disaster.
Yeah.
Any means.
Oh yeah,
yeah,
for sure.
Definitely.
And
definitely.
so right now in the immediate aftermath, it's got this lackluster feel to it. But 5 years from now, it's just going to be remembered as those, you know, the time those girls earned it.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, and that's going to be my final my final thing real quick, not to cut you guys off.
No, go for it.
Is that right now we're in a period, and I don't know that it's going to end anytime soon, but we're in a period where the main event of WrestleMania is like an honorary title thing.
Yeah.
It's never going to be good anymore. It's never going to be the best match on the card, and most of the time the crowd is going to be leaving.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like that's how it's been since WrestleMania hit the network.
Yep.
Especially since it's become exclusive on the network, because they're just like, well, we got as much time as we want. WrestleMania can be 6 hours long.
Yep.
Oh yeah,
And so by the time you get there,
when your show starts at 2 and ends at 11:30, no one.
Yes,
you're right.
The end of that show is never going to be. Yeah, the end of
Yeah.
the main event of WrestleMania is never going to be good ever again.
Did you hear about all the problems that caused too in New York? New York's public transportation shuts down at 1 a.m.
Oh.
Thousands and thousands of people were stranded in New Jersey, not able to get back to their hotels in New York because the subways were closed. How crazy is that? And it was pouring down rain. So these people are all stranded because of this show running so long.
Wow.
That's
And
awful.
again,
Well, maybe something like that will jar this loose.
Yeah, because that's what I keep saying about Mania. I mean, it's disrespectful to your fan base,
Right?
You know, like I like content. That's great, but you make content 24 hours a day anyway.
Right.
It doesn't all have to hit that day. You know.
Yeah.
We don't need
6.5 hours
or whatever.
I think it was like 7 hours total.
I
if
mean,
you count
the
kickoff
actual show itself was 5.5.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's crazy.
That's too much.
That's
and
crazy.
That's 4 hours into your day.
Yeah.
when that starts. You
Yeah,
know?
yeah, it's bonkers.
Yeah.
Like I said, like
But-
you know, like people have to make it to work on Monday so they can afford to pay for your network.
Right.
Yeah, really, yeah.
But you know, you are right that this is now a thing because Roman Reigns will be remembered for all the times he main evented Mania, not for all the people who were leaving during his WrestleMania match.
Yes, definitely.
And this is that same thing. And this is kind of the point I made when we first started talking on the podcast about Becky and Ronda and being in the match at Mania. Like, they earned it, and they deserve to be the main event.
They knocked a lot of doors down.
They knocked all the doors down, and they set new standards, and they took this bull by the horns and made it that. It just, it sucks that, it's in this era that the main event doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It'll matter for the rest of the year when they're talking about it. It'll matter, for the rest of their careers, and good for that. But, the night of, we're all sitting here talking about how it kind of fizzled and kind of flopped, and we wished it had been something else. Like that's a sad feeling to have. And the other problem with that is that as enough of those Manias stack up, it's going to damage the Mania brand.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that's already started.
Yeah, totally.
So,
well, I'm still super excited for Becky.
Yes.
It's awesome.
Yes.
I'm all of those girls, really. I'm very excited for it. I very much enjoyed the build to it. And I think it's well deserved.
Yep.
And when you really look back at Mania as a whole, it's really kind of crazy to think about how just a couple months ago all the McMahons came to the ring.
Yeah.
And they said that they were going to start listening to their fans.
Yep.
And this year at WrestleMania, we got Seth Rollins winning the championship. We got Kofi Kingston winning the championship. We got Becky Lynch winning the championship.
Yep.
We legitimately got every outcome we wanted out of this WrestleMania.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It is really, really cool.
Yeah.
And overall, it was long. It was very long, but it was still a very positive experience for me as far as the overall content of the show goes. I feel definitely it's a thumbs up for me. It was a good WrestleMania.
Definitely.
Yeah.
It's
It's best. Best one I remember seeing in a while.
Yeah. It's been the best one at least since they've gone exclusive to the network.
Yeah.
For sure, since they've gone exclusive to the network.
I would say this has been my favorite since 5 years ago, the year that Daniel Bryan won. I feel like that's the last time I felt like really energized and excited after a WrestleMania,
For sure.
Yeah.
I would agree with that.
Except that's your Taker loss, but still. It was a good show overall.
I would agree with that. I'd have to go back and look at the last few years to really say, because this one I liked this one better than 30. I know that, but I'd have to go back and look how far back, because I would probably say man, 26, 27 was really the last time I enjoyed a Mania this much.
Yeah. Cool.
So, yeah.
It was definitely good. It was definitely a great show. A lot of wrestling that day, but it was fun to watch.
Yep.
So, and I'm excited to see where we go from here. Like, do we continue this trend now, or do we go? Well, I gave them what they wanted, so let's switch things back now.
So that's my favorite. My final point about Mania, this Mania and wrestling.
Yeah.
The next 2 years, really gonna be real interesting.
Yeah.
Because Becky and Charlotte and Ronda have proven that anything can happen now.
Yeah. Yes, you're right.
Okay.
You're right.
And guys like Drew McIntyre,
Kofi to an extent too.
Kofi to an extent too, for sure. Kofi, proving different things.
Yep.
Doesn't Kofi, to look at Kofi, who had been here 11 years in a mid card position, and takes his opportunity and runs with it to a main event title win at WrestleMania. Yeah, that's a thing.
Yep.
The girls coming from behind, and in the course of, it's been 2 years. When did they start calling them women instead of divas?
That was 2 or 3 years ago now.
So over the course of 2 years, we've had and Becky has become the biggest thing in much less than 2 years. Becky,
absolutely.
Becky has become the biggest thing in this past year.
Yeah.
And built to a situation where they let the women main event WrestleMania. You know what I mean?
Totally.
There are guys like Drew McIntyre watching the women knock those doors down and watching the women do that, and thinking about what they can do when they put the work in, and who knows who else is watching, you know what I mean? And all the guys in NXT, and Seth Rollins, who is thinking about what he's going to do with his championship run, and Finn Balor, who is thinking about where he came in and where he is now, and seeing Becky main event WrestleMania. So the next 2 years, I think are going to be some interesting years to watch wrestling.
Cool. That's good though. That could be so exciting.
Oh yeah.
That's going to be so exciting. Very cool. All right. Well, we're about 2 hours into this show. Do we want to switch gears still and talk movies a little bit? That was a lot of wrestling talk, but it was a big weekend. No, it was biggest wrestling event of the year. Come on, we got a lot to say about it. Yeah. So
any of our non-wrestling nerd fans that are still listening, I've been waiting this whole time.
Well, it's a podcast, so
we can't let them down now.
The good news is we put timestamps on our podcast, so they could go wherever they want.
We're being disrespectful to our fans.
Oh, are we? Well, why don't we go ahead and
it's just about after midnight.
Let's spend a little bit of time.
Whoever's listening to this live.
We are not airing live right now, Jonathan.
What? The show isn't live?
The three of us are the only ones listening to this live right now. All right, let's talk a little bit about Shazam.
Yes.
Shazam!
We can do a quick Shazam.
We're not going to give it the time it deserves. It was so much fun. I love Shazam.
All right, well go for it. Kick us off.
Yeah, like I said, I got to see it a second time now that it's opened wide, and you guys got to see it this weekend. It was the opening weekend here. I couldn't give you any of the figures off the top of my head, but I know I think it was 57, I want to say, or 67 million. It was a very strong opening weekend for a March DC movie coming out around now.
It was enough that they greenlit a Shazam 2 already.
And very strong audience scores, well received critically. It's a bona fide hit for the DCEU. Not their biggest, probably won't have the legs of a Wonder Woman, didn't have the opening of an Aquaman or anything like that, but it's up there with the ones people like, which I think is a good thing. Now that we can talk a little more spoilery about it, I can get into some of the stuff that I really did like about it, and we can get some reactions from you guys as well, because I know there's a little bit of adversity with the discussion there. But this is the story of Billy Batson, the foster kid who is just out searching for his mother, basically. Gets taken in by a family that has a grand total of 6, I think. Does he make the 6th foster kid, and during this time where he's moving in with this family, still looking for his mother, he basically gets caught in a moment where the most hardcore bullies I've seen in a movie in a long time show up. Because one of his foster brothers is a kid who's got, I mean, he walks with a crutch.
Right.
Ever, man. Rudy made fat kid eat a bar he stepped on. He didn't hit him with the car.
Yeah.
Man.
This kid who's walking around on a crutch, basically
Freddie
these bullies,
Freeman.
who's also my favorite baseball player.
Oh.
Different Freddie Freeman.
Oh, okay, probably. They pull up in this truck in front of
I don't know anything about baseball.
In front of this school, they pull up in a truck and hit the
cripple kid.
Cripple kid with the truck.
That's probably he's disabled. He's not crippled. He's disabled. We're the Billies. We're the bullies.
Yeah.
Either way, they hit him with a truck and then got out and kicked the crap out of him for being there in the way of the truck.
He scratched the paint, man.
He was on the sidewalk.
Yeah.
You know. While they're beating him up, Billy Batson decides he'll step in and kind of takes over on these kids, and then runs away. While he's running away, he gets sucked into some weird wizard dimension, rushing through a lot of this stuff. Basically, he's imbued with. There's an old wizard who's been searching for years and years for someone who's totally pure of heart, and basically lands on whoever shows up next. Because the old wizard's running out of power, and the demons he's been holding at bay have already escaped. So he doesn't necessarily find the person who's pure of heart that he's been looking for, but he finds a kid and gives him the power.
Right.
And all of a sudden, Billy Batson becomes Shazam, which is the superhero equivalent of the movie Big with Tom Hanks, which they play up on the movie a couple of times, specifically a Toy Store scene later on. But that's essentially the setup for the film. Now we've got Zachary Levi. Of Chuck fame, the voice of Flynn Rider.
Yeah.
In a couple of Thor movies. So this guy's been around comic books. He is now playing a 13-year-old in Superman's body, essentially.
Yeah.
And it is hilarious, in my humble opinion.
I also found it hilarious. Some of my favorite scenes, of course, is when they're doing all the superhero power tests. Where Freddy's filming him trying out different things and all the different tests they could do, and what about when he goes in to stop the guys robbing the convenience store and he finds out he's bulletproof?
Yeah.
And he's like, shoot him in the face. And he's like, yeah, shoot me in the face. Wait. And then they do, and a bullet bounces off.
Well, they figure
kind of tickled.
Yeah. They see somebody getting mugged, and so they go try to save her. Except she's already pepper sprayed the guy and doesn't need any help at all.
Yeah.
And then there's this weird, awkward exchange, and she just kind of sees the powers and is like, you know what, I just want to be left alone, and hands him a bunch of money.
Yeah.
And they immediately decide they're going to go buy beer.
Yeah.
You know? So that's how they get into the convenience store in the first place. And then I love that, too, because when those guys came in to rob it, like, their first reaction is Shazam, like, hiding behind the thing, like being scared, like a 14-year-old would be if a couple of robbers came in before he realizes, oh, wait, I'm a superhero. Let's go do something about this, you know? And then they basically just do, I mean, there's a solid, got to be 20 or 25 minutes of figuring out how the powers work, of adjusting to the fact that he is an adult now. They have this great scene in the school where the kids are both trying to leave school. Shazam, or Billy, goes to Freddy to help because Freddy knows a lot about the superheroes in the world. We get some allusions to Superman and Batman of the DCEU existing here,
and Aquaman,
and I mean, he's wearing a Wonder Woman shirt at one point.
He's wearing an Aquaman shirt too at one point.
Yeah,
so,
like all of them get references in there.
Yeah,
and so we get this connectivity, which is funny because when they wrote and probably started producing this movie, it was all supposed to connect, and now they don't want anything to connect anymore. So we'll see how that plays out, you know.
Yeah.
But Freddy is the expert on superheroes, so he goes to him and is like, "You need to help me figure this out." And so we get this long stretch that's basically these two, and it was a lot of fun to watch. I thought because I thought Zachary Levi played a pretty good 14-year-old.
Yeah.
You know, that's basically what he's doing as an actor. Is he's playing a 14-year-old just walking around in this adult body with this ridiculous costume on. Charging people's phones and figuring out how his power
your phone's
works.
charged. Your phone is charged. When he tries to leap the building in a single bound. That's
smashes through the middle.
Smashes through the middle of the building and the window. Oh my god, dude!
That
was great.
I thought we were going to lose Jared at that point.
That was my favorite scene in the movie. Like I said, I keep saying I don't know what I expected to happen, but it wasn't that.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because he was like going through the whole thing, right? He was like faster than a speeding bullet.
Well, he goes more powerful than a locomotive, and Shazam's like, locomotive? What are you, an old prospector?
Yeah. Are you able to leap tall buildings in a single bound?
Yeah.
That's when he crashes through the middle of the building.
Yeah.
You hear somebody scream when he does it. Yeah, it's good stuff.
That's it's another one of the superhero references they were making, because at one point he calls it, Shazam calls it, it says, I don't know anything about this Cape Crusader stuff, and Freddy's like, that's Batman.
Yeah.
He's like, what? He's like, that's never mind.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought those references were all pretty fun, honestly. I mean, that's the kind of referencing stuff I like, though, in comic book movies. Like, referencing that this stuff exists and it's out there. I was into that. I thought that was cool.
The bad guy in the movie is Mark Strong, who's another guy who's been around superhero movies, because he was I guess he technically wasn't the bad guy in Green Lantern, but they set him up as a bad guy for the Green Lantern movies that'll never be made because the first one was terrible.
Sinestro?
Yeah.
His dad was Lionel Luthor.
Yes, which was awesome. Yeah. They set this guy up. The whole movie actually opens in like the 70s with this kid in the car getting driven around by his dad and his brother, who are basically just dogging on him. Yeah,
just awful
terrible
people. Good lord.
And he gets sucked into the wizard's world and offered the chance for this power if he's pure of heart, and the demons that the wizard's holding at bay trick him into going for their stuff, and so the wizard tells him, I guess the wizard is Shazam. Shazam tells him he'll never be worthy, and kicks him back into the earth where he's just dogged on all the time, and ends up causing this big car accident. And then we flash forward to the future. Well, now he has been searching for 30 years for how to get back to this place, just so he can give this wizard his comeuppance.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, I half get the feeling that he wants the power, and I half get the feeling that he just wants to prove to the wizard he can do it.
Right.
But he gets back, goes with the demon's power instead. Basically gets Shazam's powers, except he already is an adult. Right. But he's got the 7 deadly sins living in his eye. Sounds weirder than it plays.
Yeah. Yeah.
Only a little.
Yeah.
Only a little.
And so in response to that, like I said, the wizard finds the next kid he can. It's Billy. And so now, as we're going through this progression of Shazam learning about his powers, figuring out what he can do, trying to teach himself to fly, all these things, and basically becoming a jerk about it. Like he figured, that's the scene I was getting to earlier when I got sidetracked. They're in the school and they both decide they're going to leave, so they go to leave past the security guard, and the security guard tells them that a parent has to be here in person to let him out. So Billy basically runs around the corner and just goes Shazam, and then comes back on screen as Shazam in a giant trench coat, trying to cover up his silly superhero costume, which is automatically on when he changes. And they have a little exchange with the security guard, and they get out of there. And basically, the power goes to Billy's head. He starts to he's doing parlor tricks for money.
Yeah.
Because I don't think, I get the feeling they don't understand how money works at any point in this movie, because they just get so excited about the the $20 or whatever they get for scaring a mugging victim, essentially.
Man, I mean, but that's kids though, man. Remember,
exactly.
When you got $20 at 15? Like, you were rich.
Yeah, I'm complimenting the movie on that.
Okay, I got you.
Because they are. I mean, like, you almost forget that you're watching a 14-year-old in a man's body until they go through stuff like that, and you're like, oh yeah, he has no idea how the world works. Let alone he's trying to learn his powers. He doesn't even know anything about how just commerce works.
Right.
And so as he's in one of these scenes where he's basically just trying to put on a lightning show for panhandling money.
Right. Just like a street performer.
Yeah. Accidentally causes a bus to crash, saves the bus, gets into an argument on TV with Freddy. So, it's just great because it's a 14-year-old quipping with a grown man who we know is a 14-year-old, but when they play it on the evening news, it just looks like a superhero arguing with a little kid.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's how the bad guy, I can't even remember. I think his name was Thad, but I'm sure he had a supervillain name. But
the supervillain name is Dr. Savannah?
Yep.
Mr. Doctor.
Yep, Mr. Doctor. Mr. Doctor.
Mr. Doctor.
Savannah.
Yeah, Savannah. Yep.
Savannah.
The demons have been telling him there's another with the power who will destroy you if you don't get to him first. So he's basically trying to kill Shazam before Shazam figures out how strong he is. So he shows up, and then we kind of, the rest of the movie plays like, the beginning of it plays like one of the sort of like a family drama, but with the foster family side to it. The end of the movie curls right back into that because you get all the other kids that were in that foster home involved. They're basically pawns, hostages essentially, that the villain is using to draw Shazam out and to try to get him to give up his power to the Doctor. They end up, long story short, cutting to the final set piece, which is this theme park they go to, like a little fair or carnival. There's rides, there's cotton candy, there's the whole thing, and this is where they end up having this showdown where they've got, I can't remember exactly how they got to that point, but it looks like the day is done and the bad guys are going to win because the demons are all out and they're all threatening the kids, and somehow Shazam tricks the Doctor to the point where he gets the wizard staff and has the rest of the kids.
Well, that's the thing you're skipping, is because the demons came and got the kids, and he used that to make Shazam take him to the wizard's lair.
Oh yes,
where he got the staff.
That's right.
And once they had the staff,
what you needed for the transfer of power.
Right.
Once he had the staff, he was going to take the Shazam power back from him.
Yep.
Well, Sylvana was going to take the Shazam power from Billy.
Yeah. So, but instead of doing that, he has his foster family basically all grab the staff, which is one of my favorite scenes of the movie.
Yeah,
because they all grab the staff in this very serious moment, and Shazam yells at him like, "All right, everybody, say my name!" And in unison, they all go, "Billy!"
Yeah.
It's like, no, my other name. Yeah, and they all scream Shazam, and then there's this big lightning and smoke show. And when the dust settles, now we have 6 Shazams, essentially, all standing there. And they're all just looking down at their newfangled adult bodies, And they've got the short girl is all grown up. The heavyset kid is all muscle-bound now. Yeah. Freddy not only can walk, but can fly.
Right.
And do all this stuff. And he has been upset the whole movie, essentially. Like, he's very jealous.
Yeah.
You find out at one point.
Yeah.
Because he has been in love with this superhero stuff forever, and this very ungrateful kid is the one who ends up getting all this power that he would kill for a portion of.
But also not the unhealthy jealousy.
No,
I feel like that's important to point out. Like it's it becomes a point, because how many times would we have seen this, could we have seen the trope where, he is jealous and envious, and, because he's jealous and envious, the bad guy uses him to, you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
And they don't do that. It's this point where, at one point Billy's trying to throw it in his face, like, you're just jealous. And he's like, yeah, I'm jealous, I love this stuff. I can't walk, and I love this stuff. And you get to fly and do all of it? So, like...
Yeah, because his jealousy is more based... is less based around, I wish it was me and not you, and more based around, I wish you appreciated what you had.
Yeah.
But now he's Adam Brody, and he's a Shazam also.
Yeah.
But so we get this real neat fight, I think, and this is one of the things that excited me most as a guy who has issues with the DC extended universe. One of my main issues is even in the movies I don't think they can handle an Act 3. And I think this is one of the strongest ones they put forward because they made it bigger. I mean, they gave superpowers to 5 extra kids all of a sudden. And they had this showdown with the 7 deadly sins in their demon form, while Shazam is having a showdown with Dr. Sylvana. Am I saying that right?
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of things happening, but at no point do they ever fight a tornado monster. Like it is still at the same level of the rest of the movie, basically. There's just a little more of it. It's like the perfect uptick, or at least a much, much better uptick than we're used to. And you get to see the kids adjusting to having the powers and while they're fighting these demons, and you get there's a great scene where Shazam and Dr. Sivana fly away and have a battle kind of through the skyline for a while, and at one point like there's like a hit and they end up, they both fly up in the air and they're staring each other down.
Oh my God.
And Sivana starts giving this speech about how he's going to take his power and how he's going to do all this, and they pan back over to Shazam, and you realize how far away they are from each other. And Shazam's just sitting there going, "What? Are you saying something?
Yeah.
What are you talking? Dude, you're like a mile away. I can't hear anything."
Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah. Again, long story short, they battle, and you figure out that, or Shazam figures out that he's basically powered by these 7 deadly sins, and the reason you only ever see 6 of them is because one of them is always hiding in them, and if he can draw that one out, then Sylvana's just a man, and they beat him that way. And so it's Envy is the one who stays inside him, and he tricks Envy into coming out. And I felt like I missed something towards the end there, because that played a little weird, because they drew Envy out, and it looked like he had been defeated. And then they took the doctor away, and they were beating while the rest of them were capturing the rest of the demons and whatever else. They made it look like Envy had come back. I thought like there was going to be another showdown. I got the impression that like he's going to sneak back into the guy, and there's going to be that one final showdown. And then I don't think that ever really happened.
No, I think
the movie was just sort of over.
Yeah.
But really, really enjoyed it thoroughly through and through. I do honestly think it's I like to let things settle in before I put tears on stuff, because I had fun at Aquaman. Not a great movie, but I had fun with it. I really like Wonder Woman a ton.
Yeah.
I think that is a pretty great movie. It's got its flaws, especially towards the end, but I really think it's good. I honestly believe this is my favorite all-around DC movie that I've seen since before the extended universe stuff.
And don't forget about the Superman cameo at the end.
Oh,
yeah. That was fun.
Yeah. I think would have been way cooler a year ago or 6 months ago, or before Henry Cavill stopped being Superman or whatever else, if they were still doing the connectivity.
Well, I don't know. That was definitely not Henry Cavill.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like,
it would have been neat if it was actually him there. We saw his face.
Yeah. There's a bit early in the movie where Freddy tells everybody Shazam's going to have lunch with him without clearing that through Billy, and then that ends up not happening, at school. And so at the end, they set it up where Shazam does show up and starts talking about how great this kid is and how they're really close friends and how he's got another guest also. And then, like, the whole room goes quiet and Superman walks into frame. Except all you can see is the body and that he's holding a tray. He's, like, cut off at the head.
Yeah.
And that's the very end of the movie, except for the post-credit stuff. So, again, real quick rundown there. There's a lot more to it than that. There's a lot of great jokes in that movie. I don't want to run through all of them by any means. But I could not recommend this more as just a fun getaway at a superhero movie. It's one of the most purely comedic superhero movies I think I've ever seen. Mm-hmm. They all have well, I shouldn't say they all have jokes. Several of the DC ones don't. But like a lot of superhero movies are based in humor. So it's not
along the lines of like an Ant-Man.
Yeah, I would say. Except I would call this even more of a comedy, probably. But I think Ant-Man fits in that same realm for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
But this really did, I had talked about it. A lot of people had talked about it just being a superhero version of Big. But, man, I really felt like I had that feeling the whole way through.
Yeah.
I liked the foster family stuff because it had that little bit of, family drama feel to it. I loved the comedy. I liked all the performances. I was very happy with this movie all the way around, and I would recommend it to pretty much anybody.
I had a lot of fun with it. I was kind of wondering early on if we were going to go the route of the Marvel family, or I guess let's just.
I didn't know that was a thing.
So I think the big group of them is more recent in the books. I was just looking it up here on Wikipedia. I think 2013 is when that became a thing.
Oh, okay.
But Mary Marvel and Captain Marvel Jr., which is Freddie Freeman, have been around since the birth of Captain Marvel. They've always been like his two sidekicks, basically. So I mean, right away once Freddie Freeman was there, and then Mary kind of got a lot of play in the middle there too. I was like, oh, I wonder if they're gonna do that in this movie with those two. That'd be kind of neat. I was not expecting them to go full on like every one of them are all Shazams now, you know. So that was kind of fun.
When Mary transformed, that was a different actress, wasn't it?
I think so.
Okay, I thought it was too, which I thought was kind of funny because she is an adult already. Like, she was 18.
Yeah. And
neither here nor there, just an observation.
And I think they've changed some of that around a little bit too, because Mary, her name in the books was Mary Batson, and I think she's his actual sister, like Billy's actual sister in real life. So they altered that a little bit, but not a big deal. Because even Freddy always kind of stayed a kid too when he was like his power, like that's why he was Captain Marvel Jr. So, but still, it was kind of neat seeing that in the movie, and I thought the youngest girl specifically was super funny when she was like in her Shazam powers, because she was like just the way she was running around real fast. Yep. And did I understand it correctly that it looked like each of them had one power specifically? Like, because Shazam had all those powers, but they all looked like they focused on having individual abilities.
I didn't take it that way. I just took it as them displaying those powers one at a time.
Okay.
But that's very possible.
Because it seemed like Freddy was the flyer, and she was super fast, and one of them was strong. It looked like they each like Shazam's got like the whole thing, but it looks like each of them had like one ability.
Yeah. He said, I thought that was just the fact, like, instead of all of displaying it all at once, they were all kind of learning as they went. But, I mean, again, your way could be it, too. Jaron, anything you want to give your opinions? Or
I didn't like it. It's one of those real hard instances for me because I don't disagree with any of the things you said about it. I was not entertained. I did not like any of the characters at all. Like from the beginning, you know, there was that one moment in the beginning. You know, I think it kind of started bad for me because they immediately make us sympathetic to the villain, but then he does not go on to be like a villain you can be sympathetic with at all. But you know, I immediately, you know, because they have the villain in the car and his brother's being a jerk to him, and like Dad's laughing about it, you know? And then he gets sucked into Shazam, and Shazam is a total a-hole to him. You know what I mean? And so I was immediately like, well, man, I hate Shazam. You know, like isn't he? You know, and then I was even like, then you know, like, continue out, and Sylvana's been spending years researching this and finding other people. So like, you know, so this jerk sorcerer trying to hand out superpowers is just sucking up all these random kids, telling them they're not worthy, and then sending them back to Earth. You know what I mean? So I'm like right away, I'm like, and then I don't know how he was in the comic. I guess I assume if he's looking for someone pure heart to give them superpowers to be basically Superman, I expected him to be a good guy, and he was not a good guy. I did not like Billy Batson at all. I did not like Freddie Freeman at all. I did not think the character, I was you keep talking about the bullies and how hardcore they were. They were so hardcore, I was turned off by that aspect of the movie. You know,
like that felt out of place.
You know, it was so. I think they thought, how funny would it be if these bullies were just completely over the top? Like, what if they hit this kid with their truck and then get out and kick the crap out of him? And it just, you know, it made it turned me off to it. I did not like I couldn't even, you know, get to a place of like, I don't know, not suspension of disbelief, but you know, like I couldn't even laugh at it.
I will say the one thing that scene again felt off, you know, and I'm laughing about it now, but I fully agree with you that that's something that kind of pulls you out of that movie. But I think one of the reasons, and this kind of makes me happy about society, I think, is because I feel like that might have almost played better in the 80s, but I don't think we live in a world anymore where you can be that big of a jerk without the entire school turning on you.
Definitely.
And that was the thing, is like nobody else at the school seemed to notice or care, rather than kind of forming a little bit of a circle around it. And then watching them continue to beat up the kid who walks with a cane. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That sort of thing wouldn't fly in 2019.
For sure.
Believe, you know?
For sure.
Not at any high school I can imagine.
Yeah.
You know? They would have hit that kid with a truck, and their day would have been done before
Right.
they even got out.
Right.
So,
At least I would hope.
yeah. Fingers crossed.
Yeah. Continuing on, I thought very few of the jokes landed well for me. A few were a few I thought were clever. A few I laughed. You know, I laughed really hard when he jumped through that building.
Yeah.
I laughed really hard.
That was my favorite too.
Yeah. And I was bored through a lot of it. I definitely recently on our Marvel Good Yay podcast, we discussed my dislike of origin stories.
Oh yeah.
Because they, you know, sometimes they feel slow, and it almost feels like there's two stories that don't get set up or paid fully off. And I kind of got that with this. I felt like it was super slow. Like I got bored in the middle. Man, you know, like you know, they started us off with the sympathy for the villain, but then he didn't do anything else. Like he didn't remain. I thought he became very one dimensional and just, you know, kind of became this guy walking around with 7 demons in his eye, which is weird, you know.
Sounds weirder than a place.
Yeah. And I didn't like, you know, I thought it was uninventive. Well, you know, when you talked about when you were the only one who had seen it, you talked about wondering how The Rock would have played into this. I felt like I could see exactly how this was supposed to be Black Adam, because Black Adam has the same powers as Shazam. So, and this guy just walked around with the same powers as Shazam. I thought that didn't make any sense considering he was powered by the 7 deadly sins. I thought his power set should have reflected that. So every time he was doing stuff and having Shazam's powers, I was just like, "What?" They just, I felt, you know, I could just see that. I could just see that hole there, and like, this is okay, whatever. And then then I did like, I did like when he made the whole family Shazam. Like I did kind of like that end scene. I like seeing them all Shazam. Although I don't know if you notice, Mary completely disappears after they make her Shazam.
I thought the same thing.
Like,
I felt like for a character who was so important in the books along with Shazam, they sure did make her disappear in that whole thing.
Yeah.
Because all the rest of them got that moment of like displaying their powers, and they didn't do that with Mary for some reason.
Right.
I don't know why.
Yeah, especially considering she was like the one that like realized it. You know what I mean? That didn't expressly see it because a couple of the characters found out, but she was the one who like figured it out.
Yeah, I wonder what happened there.
So my theory on that is that they added that in after they had shot this movie, and that's why Sylvana and Sylvana and Billy Batson fly away and fight somewhere completely different than where everybody else is fighting. I thought that felt very, while I enjoyed it, I liked the scene. I liked seeing them all do different stuff. I liked seeing them all become Shazams. It felt kind of patched together to me, where, because, you know, they all of a sudden, you know, they have their big blowout, but then all of a sudden Sylvana and Shazam fly away from the whole fight and leave everybody else just to kind of fend for themselves against the 7 deadly sins demon. And then like you said, you know, it kind of feels disjointed when they come back together, and you know, they kind of tease like, oh, Envy's not completely destroyed, but oh, well, he's not ever going to do anything else, and they're just going to arrest Sylvana, you know. And there's also kind of that thing, sometimes it's weird seeing a supervillain get like arrested. You know what I mean? Like like I don't necessarily need every supervillain to be killed or, you know, destroyed or escape to come back, but sometimes it's kind of weird to see a supervillain who
at least they depowered him for
for sure, for sure. Like, it fit. It's just, you know, it's just that kind of weird thing. Like, I remember I had like a comic that came with, I don't know, man. It was like a little throwaway comic that came with a toy or something, where Thanos gets arrested at the end.
Oh, that's hilarious. You're going to jail, Thanos.
Yeah.
Come with us. You have the right to remain silent.
Yeah.
Hold his hand so he doesn't snap.
Right. So I can see. So it's hard for me to watch this movie because I can see why everybody else likes it.
Yeah.
And I'm glad everybody else likes it. And I don't disagree with anything you say, just none of it worked for me.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, I don't get to say this often, but don't listen to Jaron. This movie's great. Go see it.
I think you should all go see it. I would recommend it to people.
I'm actually excited to show this one to my son because I went and saw it without him, and the whole time I was watching it, I was going, oh my gosh, he's gonna love this.
Yep.
Like, kid turning into a superhero. I mean, come on, that's perfect. So I had a lot of fun with it.
Yep. There's a couple of jokes. I mean, it's about a teenager who turns into an adult immediately. So there's a couple of jokes where I'm like, I don't think my 5-year-old gets it. We're probably fine.
Yeah.
And there was at least one instance where he asked me a question I didn't want him to ask me, but I was able to blow it off pretty quick. So no big deal. So I don't think it's anything kids can't see by any means.
Cool. Awesome. Shazam.
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 Oh, yeah, that's right. We have to say it like that. Very cool. All right. Well, there's a nice packed episode full of wrestling and superheroes for you guys. So hopefully you enjoyed it. And as always, thank you so very much for listening or watching the show. If you guys are joining us for the first time, there's lots of different ways that you can follow the podcast for future episodes. We're available on YouTube. Just do a search for Geek Easy Podcast and hit that subscribe button. That way you never miss out anytime we upload a video. If you prefer the audio versions, we're on iTunes, we're on Stitcher, Google Play, Podbean. So follow us, rate us, do all that good stuff you do with podcasts.
Hit those like buttons and the up arrows and the thumbs up.
Smash that like button.
Right. Whatever you got to do. So.
Follow us on Facebook so you can ask us questions.
Definitely. We didn't do that this time again. So, yeah, use the Facebook page.
I think everyone will forgive
Way to out us. Way to out us, Dan.
Sorry.
I was throwing it out there like nobody asked us questions.
Oh, yeah.
So
That's true. There are no questions. Go ask us questions, and we'll answer them next time on the next episode. So,
thanks, guys.
Well, until next time, I am going to go sleep on Dan's couch.
All right. Take care, guys.
The Geek Easy Podcast is a production of PixelDan.com. Musical tracks used in the intro and outro are used with full permission of the respective owners or creators. Intro and outro narrations are provided by me, Brian T. Stevenson. PixelDan.com's The Geek Easy Podcast is provided for entertainment purposes only. The views expressed are those solely of the hosts or guests and do not necessarily represent those of PixelDan.com or any other party. Be sure to join us next time for another installment of the Geek Easy Podcast.